my cats were both taking a nap in my lap, and that's starting to rhyme. Um, but now, Mab has decided to wake up and pay attention to the fact that there are movements on the screen and my mouse. So, at some point, I'm probably gonna have to put both of them outside of the room. But we are good for now. Okay. Go. Oh, okay. Or she'll go and lay down on the couch. That works. Play with the other things. There we go. That's good. Alright. You know, I probably should get back to putting the thing on the Twitter more consistently, but nobody looks at Twitter to find things or to find new stuff anymore, you know? I don't. I do not go on Twitter anymore. Maybe some people do, who knows? Both of my cats have left me. I am sad now. I will be joined later this evening by Aiden and Boo, so it will not just be me this time around. There we go. Okay. Let's be silly little people and go put this on that Twitter, now that I think about it. Hello, Timothy. How are you? Indeed you are. Indeed you are. Alright. Maybe I should just, like, auto make it do things to Blue Sky? Is that a thing that I can do? I don't actually know. Does Blue Sky allow, like, some automated stuff? Excuse me. Oh, there we go. Well, that's very nice. So, I have been utilizing my Nintendo Switch more, actually, which is interesting. I hadn't been using it beforehand, much, just because, like, I don't know, I didn't have a desire to. But I have been actually utilizing it, recently, and I've been playing Metroid Dread. I think I talked about this a little bit before. And it was today I started playing a little bit of Link's Awakening because I haven't played a Zelda game in years, you know. So I decided, oh, let's do a little Zelda. And Link's Awakening is a nice little jaunt. Lot of references to Nintendo, Mario specifically. Because I believe Link's Awakening was one of those Game Boy games originally. I think so, at least. Let me find out. Link's Awakening. It was, yeah, it was originally on the Game Boy. I don't remember. I mean, I don't think I've ever played it before, so I'm glad that it's a thing. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back. Welcome onto the show. As usual.
Sorry.
Oh, what were you saying?
Sorry, I was fucking with audio levels. I heard something to the show as usual.
Oh, welcome to the show, as usual.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Yes. Watched some Dragon Ball Z today on episode 230 now. There you go, Timothy. Nice. Well,
Mm.
welcome back to Table Talk Discussion and Discourse. I, as always, am your host, Alejo, aka Grade on 95.
And barring the times that I am dead, I am your second host, Captain Chiral.
Mm-hmm. We will be joined by our third later this evening. But yeah, so
Get ready for table talk after hours.
isn't it always, to be fair? We could
Yeah,
never.
nothing changes. Nothing changes except for the title.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We're nearing closer and closer to episode 200 for our 24-hour episode. It will happen on 200. And I'm gonna take the days off in the following Monday probably, and maybe even the Friday beforehand, just so that I don't fuck myself up too hard with sleep schedules. But we'll see how it goes. But yeah, today we're gonna be talking about a couple of things. Aiden, what do you know about legendary resistances in 5e?
All right. So, legendary resistances are given to certain, like, more boss-like creatures, like a
Yes.
dragon. I believe liches get them.
Yeah.
Um, and they're meant to be a big bad encounter. You get 3 legendary resistances per day, and it just gives the DM whenever like a creature fails a resistance, or sorry, fails a save
Mm-hmm.
against a particular spell or effect. Um, if somehow they fail, the DM can just go, nah, I pass. And you can do that 3 times per day, which typically means 3 times during the one time that you encounter them, unless if you, like, I don't know, did a super cool dragon that you fight over the course of multiple days.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it flies off after taking so much damage one day, flies off after another.
Yeah.
But it's a juiced out, like roided out dragon. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, you get 3 legendary resistances per day. I'm kinda not a big fan
Hmm.
of the rule of 3 legendary resistances. I think you should have an amount of legendary resistances that makes sense for the creature.
Well, as far as
I
I'm aware, I think it is 1, 2, 3. Like it goes
Is it?
from.
I thought it was just 3.
I honestly I don't know. I've seen a couple of things that utilize 1 or 2, but they might have been homebrew things, to be fair.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not familiar with any that have more or less than 3.
Mm. Mm. But yes, I agree with you on that. That I think that there should be multiples of, like, in the sense of 1 if it's like a lower level thing, you know.
Mhm.
Um.
I also think that we as DMs should be like, if you want to make an encounter like not necessarily more memorable, but just like if you want a bigger encounter, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um feel free to give whatever like mini boss you have planned 1 legendary resistance.
Mm-hmm. I think as well. The most popular opinion that I hear about legendary resistances is they're bad because they make me feel bad when I go and do a thing, they fail, and then the DM says, "No, actually they succeed though, using one of their legendary resistances." To which I go, "Let's just not do that in the sense of announcing when a legendary resistance is being used. Just make it a background kind of aspect where they do have a certain amount, but you're rolling behind the screen anyway, so you might as well just say, I have 3 of these re-rolls basically, or auto passes. I'll utilize them when it seems either dramatically appropriate or I would like this fight to at least last a bit longer." right? Just so that you're not just saying, no, actually, no. Because I think the DM telling the player actually no, after they've really worked hard to do something, um, when they would have succeeded in doing it, is the main trigger as to why people don't like legendary resistances. So I don't know if that's, I don't know if it would be better, overall. I don't know if it would be too secretive, but I think it would at least eliminate that bit of problem that seems to be especially prevalent. What do you think about that?
So So I have two notes on that.
Hmm.
One, I really like the idea of rerolls for legendary
Yeah,
resistances instead of auto
me
passes.
too.
It's basically just the lucky feat, except for your bosses.
Yes.
Um, Secondly, like I just really like that idea. Secondly, I have had just about the near opposite experience with
Really?
you, or sorry, from you, with tables that I've been in. Um, because in the tables that I've been in, like burning a legendary resistance, like everyone on the table's like, dude, good fucking job. That's like now a permanent
That's
resource,
fair.
or encounter wide resource that is now just gone, and you have wasted that. Like that's some good work. Everyone kind of gets hype when
Okay.
legendary resistances get burned.
You see, I've
Um,
never experienced the legendary resistance in action on my own. I just see this is the overwhelming sentiment that seems to be out there, when it's brought up of like, oh, bad because no you, basically.
so the Death Paladin that I made,
Yeah.
he had a few options for like his sword. For instance, had like a knockback
Mm-hmm.
that could proc legendary resistances.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that you got like. I still did damage when I hit the dragon with my sword.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that it had a knockback that the dragon had to burn a legendary resistance to like resist.
Gotcha.
Um, I think that is one of the reasons why legendary resistances perhaps got seen differently in my table. It
Mm-hmm.
was like, um, we would have attacks that would have bonus effects that would perhaps burn legendary resistances.
Yeah.
And being able to get burnout and like get those legendary resistances out of the way opened the gates for the party as a
That
whole
makes
to
sense.
like sort of take out the big guns.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that like legendary resistances as they are like could be improved. I
Mm-hmm.
like the idea of rerolls, and for
Yeah.
instance. Um, But I do also think that as DMs, we should be giving gear that can perhaps burn legendary
Exactly.
resistances. And it sort of like will change how legendary resistances feel at our tables.
Yeah. I think that the it makes a lot more sense giving that context as to why your table was like cooler with it. Um, because most of the time they seem to be in the experiences that are depicted. That seems to be, oh, I used my big spell that I really wanted to use at that time, and then my DM said no, you basically. Not basically the same way that people say counter spell as well. Which I think another aspect that could be perhaps utilized more is the narrative aspect of making it so that it seems cooler than just saying no you know um by describing it and giving form to the legendary resistance more than just saying, okay, I'm going to use a legendary resistance here for my creature, um
Like something I would recommend as sorry, finish your thought.
oh that was basically the end of that.
Oh, cool. Um So I was doing some thinking of like, what if we as DMs don't want to give out a ton of gear that burns legendary resistances, because like gear that burns legendary resistances are oftentimes really good.
Yeah.
And giving them out to your whole party will like make your whole party like overpowered as shit. Um, you could lean in the opposite direction where the boss gets bonuses to its like AC or HP or even access to different attacks.
Mm-hmm.
The more legendary resistances that it has in stock.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, sure, the dragon resisted paralyze, like that's pretty good for it. However, it now no longer has 3 legendary resistances, which means it can't, I don't know, meteor swarm as a bonus action.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah, because the legendary actions aspect is where we have that kind of I guess balancing so that bosses and such, quote unquote, will last longer. And at least seem more of a threat because they can do things between turns and all that. And they get, maybe that's where I'm getting the 1 to 3, because legendary actions seem to be 1 to 3, depending on like the like strength of the creature itself. That might be where I'm confusing it.
Yeah.
But if we timed it potentially to that, then we could then say, yeah, it's getting weaker because it is using a lot of its reserves to do the big things. Which would just be, you dole out basically these legendary actions that we have on the character sheet. We go, okay, the most powerful one, that can be the last one, or maybe the first one to go. It depends on what feel you want to give it. Just to tie it to those legendary resistances.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that would be good, I think.
So I'll be honest, I was just doing some thinking about like how you would telegraph to your players that bosses get more resources the more legendary resistances they have.
Yeah.
So for instance, we will stay with the dragon
Sure.
example. Say a dragon can fly, it has fire breath, it has like a big huge ass tail swipe that's like a problem.
Yeah.
The first time it burns a legendary resistance, it like interposes its wings between the shield, or sorry, between the spell itself, like say, I don't, I don't know if I can take your pick.
Yeah, really anything.
And yeah, and maybe because it defends itself with its wings, the wings itself get shredded, so the dragon can now no longer fly.
Yeah.
The second time, maybe it interposes the tail between itself and the spell.
Yeah.
And then the spell like causes the tail to crumble off or something.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a very good way of telegraphing to your players, hey, you now no longer have to worry about this tail swipe. Like, yeah, sure, like you didn't paralyze it, but like you now have a boss that does not have access to an attack.
Exactly. Basically Monster Hunter it a little bit, you know?
Yeah, really just Monster Hunter.
Yeah. Which is great. Yeah, I like that as an idea for sure. Now to be fair, haven't looked into 2024's player's handbook and all that kind of stuff, so I have no idea what they're doing with anything in new D&D. So potentially they're doing something completely different with legendary resistances and legendary actions. I have no idea. But considering the monster manuals aren't out yet, we just have the player's handbook, then I'm going to at least assume that the legendary actions haven't changed yet. Right. So it's still relevant. And also 5e still exists, and it's pretty much the gateway that you want to get people started with if the thumbnails that I see are correct. They seem to have bungled something. I don't know. But
I just want it noted that I will be dead in the ground before I call it 2024.
oh, I
It
haven't.
is 5.5e.
It is 5.5. I don't know what is going on with it, you know, at all. So Other than what we looked at for the classes, obviously. Anyway, so we're speaking about legendary resistances today. Hello, everybody. Hello, Draco Kraken and Shin and Viridian Entropy. I see you there. Haven't been not paying attention, I promise. Just we're in the middle of conversation, obviously. The video about resistances probably isn't just a rant, because the video that we are covering today is by Tekaros. Tekaros did the fix to CR, which was very good. Even put in the work to make a site to actually actively fix CR, in the sense of actually giving you options, more options, to calculate CR more efficiently and in a better graph, including magic items, including actual classes and such, abilities, all that kind of stuff. So I have high hopes, at least for this, in the fixes portion. I'm also curious as to the reasoning why they suck, and if it's any different than the reasoning that I do here over the communities, or in the overall community. We shall see. But yeah, I guess we've already basically proposed the fixes that we would do. Make it so that it's tied to legendary actions in a Monster Hunter-esque way, or just make them rerolls instead. That way it feels a little bit more fair, quote unquote. Or make it so that there's not just 1 to 3 potentially as well. Actually, that would be an and. But yeah, we'll see how these fixes go about, eh? All right. Here we go. Why legendary resistances suck and how to fix them by... Sorry, Trekeros. My apologies.
Hi, I'm Trek, and you're watching Game Changer, a show where we shamelessly steal ideas from video games and then bring them over to our D&D tables. And today we're taking...
So, initial thoughts. Really liking his idea of shamelessly stealing stuff from video games and putting it in D&D.
That guy,
legendary
yes.
resistances. Something
when will the 24-hour stream start? It would probably be at the same time on episode 200, and then it would end at the same time, but the next day. That's when it would be. So yeah.
DMs treat as a necessary evil, but it might not be as necessary as you thought, considering the fact I haven't used a single one for over 2 years now. And if you watch this video, I'll give you the tools to make it so you don't have to either. So let's get started.
Okay. So instead of using it in a different way, potentially not using it at all. Might be a thing.
I mean, like, I don't really think I use legendary resistances much in my campaigns. Granted, that's largely because the bosses have so many other things I could be doing.
Yeah.
I kind of forget about legendary resistances.
That's fair.
Like, how to put this? My approach to bosses in general is like it's where I, as a DM, have an opportunity to give myself the spellcaster problem that players have, which is I can do so many things. What do I do? They're all so good. So like legendary resistances kind of feel a bit like plebeian.
I get
for me.
that. Yeah, for sure. It is.
It's like go on.
I was gonna say it is one of the most simplistic elements that is part of the monster. Oh, hello.
Hello, Boo.
Welcome.
But yeah, like everyone knows legendary resistances. When it happens, no one is surprised. Versus like giving my boss like a cool reposition effect where it can like single someone out and make a pick.
Boo, I don't know if you're speaking or anything, but we can't hear you. It's not.
I'm not.
Oh, okay. Hello.
Yeah, no, I am not speaking.
Hello.
I am listening because you guys were talking.
Yes, I got you.
Yeah.
But yeah, legendary resistances is what we're talking about at the beginning here.
Yep,
In
and
fact, you got here
now-
just in time.
Yeah, now I wanted to ask, legendary resistances, because I've never actually played a D&D 5e game where a boss actually had
Yes.
any. Legendary resistances are the thing where you just say, if they fail it, they succeed anyway?
Yes, and you have 3
Yes.
of them usually. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
A total of 3 or 3 per round?
a total of 3.
Okay.
And yeah, we've proposed some alternatives of maybe tying them to, in a Monster Hunter-esque way, tying them to the legendary actions, so if they utilize them, it kind of takes away legendary actions, makes it easier to fight bosses.
How is that a Monster Hunter style thing?
Where you can break parts.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so if I can just
Yes,
take
go on.
over real quick, Alejo. So something I mentioned to Alejo was in the tables that I've played in, burning legendary resistances is generally seen as pretty hype.
Okay.
People congratulate you for like having burned a legendary resistance because that's now a boss resource that's just gone. And it kind of means that the party as a whole, once those legendary resistances are burnt, can like sort of unholster their big guns and start doing stuff.
Yeah.
So a typical way to burn legendary resistances, for instance, is giving secondary effects on certain weapons. Like they don't have to necessarily be like game-breakingly good secondary effects.
Yep.
But just like on my Death Paladin that I played, I had a sword that it could like knock creatures that were airborne to the ground. I called it a knockback earlier. It's more so a knockdown.
Gotcha.
And like flying creatures, for instance, would take fall damage.
Yes.
Unless if they resisted with a legendary resistance. Or just passed the save. Anyway, I mentioned the idea of burning legendary resistances in a Monster Hunter-esque way, like cutting off a creature's tail, for instance. Maybe there is a flesh to stone spell that one of the party casts, and a dragon interposes its tail between like the spell and itself. But like that boss had like a devastating tail swipe attack that after you turn the tail to stone and it falls off or like shatters or whatever, that attack is now just gone.
Yeah.
Now, here's the problem with that. I really like that idea, but if you remember in Monster Hunter Iceborne, fucking Velkhana would just grow its tail back with ice, so it wouldn't work. So fuck,
We don't
I
talk
hated
about
that
Volcana.
shit. Yeah.
But yeah, so stuff like that, and then obviously instead of doing just, oh no, you don't, it doesn't actually work, you get a reroll instead, which might help with it. With Aiden's thing, he did make a good point of, in his table he has all those secondary effects for like weapons and stuff, so it wouldn't be just spell usage that would do it, and so that's where I think a big amount of people not liking it is because one, they used a spell and it was like a big spell and they were really hoping for it, and then the DM said, oh, I failed, no I didn't,
Yeah.
or
they
go on.
or they, just to piggyback off of you, they have spent their action doing it.
Exactly.
Yes.
And actions in combat feel big, and when you lose the progress you were hoping to have, it feels bad.
Yeah.
But if it's a secondary effect, you lose that, like, oh no, I spent a whole less action on this.
This is why people hate blue decks and Magic. Because it's basically, oh, you did that? No, you didn't.
Right.
It's that.
And obviously the other thing that you could do is, like we've talked about with Counterspell, perhaps we can make it more of a narrative event that makes it seem more grandiose than just no you. Yes. Because I think a lot of things can be saved with narrative focus. Absolutely. But I think it's also just, I don't know, it's one of those ones that I see a lot of people saying, the same thing about in the community of no, legendary resistance is bad because they just make it so I can't do things, and like I get that to a degree, but again, if it was narrated properly or we had something else potentially like tied
on.
to it, yeah, I think
Yeah.
it would be just fine.
Now-
But yeah, we'll see.
Hang on, I got one.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, sorry.
Mhm.
So, in Pulp Cthulhu,
Yes.
there's a thing that you can do. In Pulp Cthulhu, the characters are way different.
Yes.
Where you've got way more health, and you're encouraged to fight more often because you have
Yes.
more health, and you have more stuff that you can do with luck.
Yeah.
On the flip side, so you for the player characters you have pulp heroes. On the flip side, you have pulp villains
Right.
who have the same stuff. Where they've got more health, and the big villains can use their luck pool to do things. And one of the biggest ones and this is available for both players and the villains, where if a player character would die, you can spend all of your luck.
Yep.
But it has to be at least 30.
Yep.
You have to spend all of your luck, and then you will survive. So, let's say your character like is flying a plane and they get shot down or something,
Right.
and everybody else was going to a location on like a boat. Who the fuck knows? Anyway.
Yeah.
Your plane is going down and your character will die. You spend all your luck, and then you narrate how you survived. Like, well, okay, my plane got shot down, but so it was on fire and it was going down, so I jumped out, and as luck would have it, I landed on a fucking blimp, and I managed to like grab a rope and like climb down, and they let me in.
Yeah.
They're like, "Hey, where are you going?" It's like, "I'm going here." It's like, "Okay, great. We're going to the same place. You can fucking hop on." Cool. And that's how you survive.
The elevator was falling, but I jumped at the last moment.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the villains can do something that it's the exact same thing mechanics wise,
Right.
but it's called Lookout Master, where if a villain is in a fight and there are established like mooks in the area,
Sure.
and let's say you get like a kill shot on that villain, but you want them to survive a little bit longer. You burn all their luck, at least 30, and someone will jump in the way of that bullet and they won't take the hit.
Right.
So it's kind of like a legendary resistance where it's you did something, no you didn't, but at least it has a narrative
component. Yeah, for sure.
It has a narrative component, and you know that you just burned that boss's entire luck pool, and they won't be able to do that for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. A narrative, like I said, narrative focus can really, really help with a lot of situations where somebody can just auto succeed something,
Yes.
mechanics wise, to make it feel like it's not just a wasted effort. So I don't know. Yeah, but always down for alternatives to this, because again, it's one of those things that is, like I was saying before, it's one of those things that's like the most simplistic of mechanics that's given to these legendary monsters, and it's thus making it pretty easy to kind of change.
Yes.
So a couple of things. I remember the robot guy. He's one of those mechanical dudes ruled by the deity Pointy Hat brought up for no reason, right? That's right. Yes. Could always make the boss break something to activate it. You can cast Maze on the boss, but in the act of desperation, he sheds his shield, lets the shield get cast into the maze. His AC drops by whatever. Yeah. That's another way to do it, for sure.
Yep.
It just changes to the fight, dynamic changes that are brought on by the use of legendary resistances. That's kind of what we're going for. Long as the action makes sense, it's fine. Yeah. You can't just jump in an elevator at the last second to stop your fall. You have to do a ground pound. True.
Yeah.
Make sure to do your backflip and everything. It'll be great.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Superhero landing.
Horrible for your knees.
Before we can talk about how to replace legendary resistances, let's dive into what it is exactly that we're replacing. If you're making a player character who's specialized in debuff or crowd control in D&D, you typically start with spells like Dissonant Whispers, Bane, or Vicious Mockery. Those are pretty great spells. They feel impactful to use, and they can easily become one of your character's signature spells, an important part of that character's aesthetic identity. But if you already have all of these great spells at first level, where do we go from here? What can the game possibly offer you when you gain a level that could catch your interest if you already have all of these tools at your disposal? Well, D&D's answer is to give you even stronger and stronger effects. You go from Charm Person to Hold Person to Dominate Person. The goal here is to put you in a state of always wanting to get the next big spell, the next big ability, the next level, to make you want to come back for more. But as the abilities players have access to get stronger and stronger, eventually we reach a breaking point. So now you have an ability you can use at least a couple times a day, and whenever you do, the encounter just ends.
True.
But the thing is, D&D's combat is designed to be most fun when it takes about 3 to 5 rounds of combat.
True.
So if you use your encounter-ending abilities on round 1, it's probably going to be a pretty anticlimactic battle. Any ally lower than you in the initiative order won't have had time to shine since the encounter ended before they got to take a single turn, and the big bad boss won't have time to do big bad things to you and your friends despite the DM trying to hype up that bad guy for the past 50 sessions. So we have a bit of a problem. We have a game that gives you a bunch of shiny toys because it wants to keep you coming back, but then that same game breaks when you actually try to use any of those shiny toys it just gave you.
I have to say, just as an aside, I always appreciate when a good video explains things well to me, because it always makes it so that even though I know what he's talking about, I know all these things, I'm still engaged with this because it's a good explanation, and I can follow it.
I agree.
So far, this is the second video that I've watched of Trekeros, and I'm already happy. I'm already, I'm just like, yes, please tell me more things, because it's just nice when I have something that I can look at and go, ooh, this is good. Ooh, yay. Happy feelings.
So, was your point finished?
Yes, yes.
So just like I want to like provide a slight amount of pushback to Trekeros's point.
Absolutely.
Definitely finishing combat within 3 to 5 rounds, absolutely 90% of the time, will it'll do you. Like that's what you want. However, what I noticed in some of my campaigns where we had like bosses burning legendary resistances is every 3 to 5 rounds have a set piece, like something changes, like your did either of you guys play Devil May Cry 5?
No.
I own it, but I have not yet played it.
Shame. I've been playing through DMC 5 again because I just got Virgil.
Nice.
And it's amazing. But like the first boss that you fight, when you fight him, you're on the roof of a chapel.
Sure.
And then eventually he punches down and does a big attack like on the ground, and it collapses the roof of the chapel.
Yeah.
And you both fall inside, and then you're fighting on the inside of a chapel.
Yeah.
And then once you get him to like half health, he does this big attack where like he's like sucks in like all like the fallen rumble and stuff in the area like into his stomach.
Yep.
And then he launches it back to you as like a big ass fireball.
Cool.
The first time that he does it though, he demolishes the side of the chapel, and you need to run outside in order to avoid the attack.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you're fighting in a plaza near the church.
Cool.
So like this is an example of a one boss fight that had 2 gigantic set pieces in it that both triggered at certain HP values, but it helps to keep the fight fresh and interesting for your players.
Yes.
And like you can do like a 10 turn long boss fight, or like even like I don't know 12 or so turns So long as you keep the fight interesting and like, oh, maybe this big chandelier falls. Ooh, maybe this wall collapses.
Yeah.
Ooh, maybe like I don't know, a river breaks through and rushes through the area or something.
Sure.
Just keep the fight interesting, dynamic, keep it fresh, and that will keep your players from viewing your combats as stale and your rounds as repetitive.
I'm confused as to what the pushback is. Like, what did he say that made you push back
Oh,
against that?
Just because he said you want your combat to occur within 3 to 5 rounds total. And I was
Oh,
saying,
I
no,
think that was
you can do.
yeah. I think that was the average that he was saying that that's where you can actually have like multiple things that have happened from the boss itself. I'm assuming going raw more so. But just being able to show off basically everything that you can for that encounter. But you're right.
And thank you, I know.
So I don't think that that's much of a there's any conflict there, I guess. That's all. That's why I was confused.
Gotcha.
Legendary resistances are the solution Wizards of the Coast came up with to solve this problem. They act as a buffer and ensure boss battles last long enough to be fun. But unfortunately, they kind of missed the mark. Probably the most common complaint against legendary resistances is that they aren't fun to play against. When a monster uses one, it still feels to the player like they have wasted their entire turn. I think this stems from how you're chipping away at an entirely different win condition, turning the battle into a race between the party's marshals and its spellcasters. Either the marshals reduce the monster to 0 hit points before you get rid of its legendary resistances, in which case the spellcasters will have wasted a bunch of spell slots for nothing, or the spellcasters get rid of the legendary resistances before the marshals kill the monster, in which case the marshals will have wasted a bunch of turns and a bunch of attacks for nothing.
Interesting.
So I really like how he mentioned like, oh, it can feel to your players as if they've wasted their entire turn doing nothing.
Yeah.
Which is like one of the reasons why having legendary resistance burning secondary effects is really good.
Yes, exactly. It really would be like if we had more instances of that just as a base thing, you know, like obviously we can put in whatever we want as dungeon masters, and I encourage you to do so in order to make it so that you have less of this happening, where people are just needing to burn spells basically to get rid of legendary resistances only. Having it be that you can even incorporate environmental things or whatever, like you have your falling sword, the sword that makes dragons fall, but there could also be the fact that you, I don't know, allow the players to have the idea to make something from the environment potentially like collapse onto something. And if they fail a Constitution save, then it could, you know, ground the dragon as well. If we're gonna just using the dragon some more, just like, oh, have a big tower, fall on dragon. Oh no. Oh, it clipped its wings a bit. Like it hurt it enough that it can't fly properly. Damn. You know, but then have it be, oh, but they used the legendary resistance, so owie, ooh, that hurt a bit, but my wings are not broken. Just put in stuff like that. I also think it's an interesting thing to look at because with this example that we have here of, you know, marshal and spellcaster going for different goals. I've never thought of it that way because I never get to that high level of play.
Yeah.
Right? You know, we've talked about it before. Campaigns usually don't go past level 10 according to some statistics that D&D Beyond only has. And but at the same time it does kind of track because at that point it's like, okay, it's kind of more of a slog usually if we're going by raw rules. So
rules as written rules.
Yes, exactly. But Yeah, so who knows really? I guess this is it would be good to have it be if you were high level just going, "Oh, monster paralyzed." And then basically the fight's over, you know? That would actually kind of cut down on slogs a lot of the time. If you were to rule that at that point, basically they still have the ability to resist, but you also are allowing them, the ability to do it a lot because the legendary resistances are gone. But at the same time, I don't know. It's at that point you have so much health going on, and you have the ability to resist those spells like a lot, just in general, not just from legendary resistances, but just because of stats. So it wouldn't necessarily feel right to just end it that way, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting way to look at it, I guess. So I don't know if I agree. I guess my entire point is I don't know if I agree that if the spellcasters get to the point of now we can do our spells that make it so that it can sometimes be paralyzed sometimes, that it's like the win condition.
Yeah.
Because if I remember correctly, hold person or dominate person, those are wisdom saves, I believe, and most things later on,
so, yeah.
Most things later on have pretty good wisdom saves, most of the time. Constitution saves are even better usually, but wisdom saves are usually very good. So I don't know.
It's usually the dex saves that are kind of hit or miss.
Yeah.
Ironically.
Yeah, actually, yeah. But then again, I would have to look at a lot more monsters again, so not entirely sure. But anyway.
Yeah.
Isn't that just a combat issue, not resistance? No. The issue being that the resistances are there to make it feel like people, or the resistances do make it feel like people have wasted turns. That's the issue, not just combat. Let's be real, most casters I know go evocation damage anyway. That's also true.
Yeah.
But
except for Brogan, that fucking asshole.
That's right. He goes slow.
He goes slow and ruins my whole boss fight.
Also, they still helped kill the monster. How is that a waste, or is it only worth it if you get the final blow? No. It is two separate win conditions that he's talking about. It's the waste is the resistance. Just straight up, just the legendary resistance saying that you didn't do something that you thought you could. Which again, it could feel better for these players if they narrate it better, or at least give them more of a bonus to it. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
And if everyone had been focusing on one life bar instead of spreading their efforts between two different life bars, the battle would have been much easier. It's a lose-lose situation. The second common issue with
well, yeah, again, I don't see that as the case usually, because again, we're talking about spellcasters, and a lot of people just want to do the big damage. That's kind of how it goes. Because big fireball, big lightning, you know? I guess, what is it? Finger of Death is big damage, but it doesn't necessarily, like, auto-kill, you know? My cats are doing things.
So, what are, I'm just riffing, what are people's thoughts on legendary resistances to dodge big attacks where they would typically take a big number of damage?
So kind of like a legendary resistance against a melee attack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
interesting.
Or even to bring up the eponymous fireball. Maybe there's a ice creature or something, and you launch a fireball against it at 6th level, but it burns a legendary resistance on just damage.
Yeah. I'm not sure about that, because people already feel bad when they just lose an effect. So I think
Yeah.
taking away a big spell's damage could be even worse.
That might actually, yeah.
Yeah, it would feel bad. However, it gets legendary resistances out of the way quicker, which I suppose as DM
True.
you just do by not giving the creature legendary resistances in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, I was gonna say, legendary
Yeah,
resistances.
it's an idea.
Oh, for sure. Legendary
It's
resistances
certainly
are
an idea from all time.
legendary resistances are weird because they feel like a bit of a vestigial mechanic. You know?
Were they in older editions?
No, never ever. They have not been. At least I don't know about fourth, but I don't think so.
They weren't.
Yeah, okay. They have never been a thing before in any other edition. No.
Yeah.
Legendary resistances and actions were completely new to 5e. But the actions are not a problem, obviously. But the resistances, again, I get why they're there. They're so that your fight doesn't go 2 rounds. That's literally that's the entire reason, because the average is that fights go for about 2 rounds, as far as I have been told. But it does kind of make sense because there's a lot of players usually, and then there's like 4 or 5 things, and a lot of the time the players are pretty good at doing the thing and killing all the guys, or figuring out how to stop the encounter quickly. So I get it, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe we just don't need them. You know, just make it so that, like you were saying before, Aiden, fights are interesting. They might have a bigger like pool of hit points, but that just means that it can become more dynamic because of thresholds, right? Let's see. I guess his visual aids are not helping me. I failed to see the problem. I'm sorry. No, you're good. So the entire problem from this first entire problem, the only point of it is when you do your big spell of, let's say, in a critical moment, you try to paralyze the dragon. The DM rolls, gets a natural 1. So the spell will go through. And then the DM says, well, my dragon has 3 legendary resistances. I'm going to use one of them. The dragon actually succeeds and does not get paralyzed in this critical moment. So you have wasted your spell. You have wasted your entire turn positioning and everything. And the dragon just gets to do its next thing when it comes around to its time, if nothing else happens at that point, right? It is meant to, like I said, elongate the dragon's lifespan, basically.
Yes.
Or whatever monster in the scenario, their lifespan, because the players will take it down very quickly with all of these kinds of spells. So a fight with a red dragon would only go 2 rounds without resistance. What? So it's an average. It's not like an absolute.
It's not a guarantee.
No, exactly. It is just an average for encounters that has been something that's kind of just been a statistic of, in most cases, most encounters take about 2 rounds. Because you have a lot of players and they can do a lot of things. Anyway. Let's see what the second reason is.
Legendary resistances is that they have about as much flavor as a cup of vanilla ice cream diluted in 15 gallons of tap water.
Well, then immediately it's just have your DM narrate better, I guess.
Yes.
It's a trait that is systematically tacked onto about 60% of the stat blocks above challenge rating 15, so it must fit regardless of if you're fighting a spindly lich who uses intricate magics to protect itself, or a giant massive ancient red dragon who's just too tough to care about your little spells. And the way it manages to fit both of these flavors is by having none. While DMing, most of us probably improvise some kind of blend description like, the vampire shrugs off your spell, or maybe we'll break the fourth wall by saying something like, it uses a legendary resistance, sorry. But yeah, as a mechanic, it does not spark joy, and you know what we do with things that do not spark joy. And finally,
It's true, but again. All we gotta do really is just narrate these scenarios a bit better, and then I think we're fine. In that one instance.
There's a third issue with legendary resistances, the combo they have with another trait, magic resistance. If a monster has only one of those two traits, then yeah, the battle will take about 3 to 5 rounds on average, so the mechanic will have, at the very least, served its role as a buffer, even if it did that in the most unfun way imaginable. But when a monster has both traits, the game just stops functioning. Here are 10 monsters from challenge ratings 15 to 25. We'll pit them against a party of 4 fighters, who are attacking every turn, and then against a party of 4 wizards, who are casting banishment every turn.
I appreciate math. Thank you for tables.
Yeah, this is a lot of math. God damn.
This is great. Thank you. Okay. So
This is a Mummy Lord is CR 15. Holy shit.
yeah. So I actually don't know magic resistance in 5e. I actually have not.
Magic resistance, I think, is they have a advantage on resisting any spell
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. No.
It used to be magic resistance used to be just half damage from spells, but that's its own thing now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Weird. Okay. So yeah, I get it now. Okay. Cool.
Yes.
So the only name on this list that I'm unfamiliar with is Marut. What is that? Like a demon lord?
A Marut, yeah, I think it's a demon.
5e.
I think.
This is a large construct.
That big eyeball knight thing.
Oh, that thing.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. But yeah, so I understand. Yes, bad things will happen. Cool.
And then use probabilities to calculate how much time it should take on average for each party to win.
Okay. So actually, let's just go to
It's a party of 4 wizards who are casting banishment every turn, and then use probabilities to calculate how much time.
Okay. So this is the number of rounds it would take for each of them to win, and as you can see,
Yeah.
Dear
God.
For magic resist, it does actually do a shit ton of work when combined with legendary resistances. That does make sense. Okay, because again, you are double saving on your
Your bread and butter.
Yes,
basically.
exactly, for magic users. And then also saying, no, but even if I fail though, no.
Yeah, you have it's a really low chance to even fail to begin with.
Exactly. So Jesus Christ.
And then you got to think that even if you have this percentage change, like you've got 25 rounds to go, how many fucking useful spells do you have left at that point? None.
Yeah, well, yeah, basically, because
like you've got nothing.
Well, I mean, again, this is
you've got cantrips.
Yes. And this is for level at this point 19, 15, all that kind of stuff wizards, right? So
yeah.
It's if it were especially for the 100 rounds, I would then go, "Oh yeah, you're fucked."
Holy shit, one of them is 100.
Yeah, the Imperium.
I have the other I have the more videos thing.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Block that.
Yeah. But no, like legitimately that time it's like, oh, you're just fighting with cantrips at that point, and I don't think you won. Like, yes, you did.
The only
like, it's
one
possible.
who's got a shot then would be warlocks.
Yeah, it's possible.
Or walking Eldritch Blast. Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, so fuck me.
Yeah.
Okay. This is why math is good. Thank you.
Yes.
Show me the math. That way I understand entirely. So just a lifespan thing? Got it. But don't resistances tie into the monster's lore and setup? How would it come across otherwise? Not
well, that's
really.
the thing. The problem is the fact that, or one of the problems is the fact that people aren't narrating them properly, and so it doesn't come off that way.
Exactly. Technically, the legendary resistance is just there. Like, if you think about a red dragon, it makes sense that it would be stronger, like an ancient red dragon would be stronger than most things, okay?
Yes.
And so some spells and stuff would be deflected against it, probably, right? Like, it would have that ability. That makes sense logically in your brain.
Because it's a fucking ancient dragon.
Because it's an ancient red dragon. But nothing necessarily in their lore or anything really says that. It's just something that you come up with that makes sense. And because we all come up with stuff like that, we can make it so that it makes sense in our brains and make it make sense for our players. But
make it make sense.
Yes. And for people that view the rules just as written, they look at it and they go, it's there. I'm utilizing it. It doesn't necessarily need to tie into that, right? That's the argument, I guess. Though I think that at this point, I mean, there's enough of an uproar about it, quote unquote, that we have enough examples of people not utilizing it properly in the sense of narration. But I, at least at this point, believe that most of the time it's probably used in a better way, usually, because most of us pretty much care to like actually give a little bit of a spiel when something like that comes out, and will stop a turn basically. But yeah, I don't know. It is what it is at the end of the day.
We should take on average for each party to win. If we look at the monsters with just legendary resistances, everything's fine. If we look at the monsters with just magic resistance, things look good too. But if we look at the monsters who have both, suddenly it takes an unreasonable amount of turns for the mages to land a single control spell on the boss. They're not acting as a buffer anymore, they're acting as a wall that you're unlikely to ever actually break through. What I have seen happen in pretty much every single game that's made it past level 10 is that the spellcasters stop casting control spells around level 10 for the most part. The big, fancy, high-level control spells that they had been looking forward to using for the past 50 sessions, they don't ever actually end up working. And as collateral damage, the weaker signature spells those same characters had been using since level 1 also kind of stop working. And I know some of you self-described evil DMs out there are going to go, well, that's what they get for trying to cheese my encounters, or it's called crowd control, not boss control. I know because I've thought the exact same thing myself in the past. But you can't really place the blame on your players for picking options that sounded good and that the game put in front of them. As DMs, it's kind of on us to present the players with challenges that will be fun to overcome. So now, let's come up with something better.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because, like, it is a good point to bring up that the game is like, hey, have all these things, do all these things, and then the game also says, but you can't do these things a lot of the time. Raw. Because, again, adding those secondary effects and everything, those are not necessarily raw, right? Those are you going, ooh, maybe we should actually, like, improve how these things work. Because the framework is there, but... damn, I never read any books, never noticed that, my bad. No, you're good. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, that's just kind of how they are. They're just on the stat block, you know?
Yeah.
That's it.
There's a pretty fundamental difference between how tabletop RPGs and video games present boss monsters. In D&D and other similar tabletop RPGs, the game gives you a list of monsters, which cover a wide range of levels or challenge ratings. Use the same system, typically stat blocks, to represent anything from a house cat to the immortal lord of all evil, which is also probably a cat. So boss monsters are basically just regular monsters that simply happen to be a bit stronger than the ones you usually fight at your current level. For example, in Pathfinder, any monster 2 or more levels higher than the party is considered a boss, and any monster 2 or more levels below the party is considered a lackey. So you can fight a level 5 Flame Drake at level 2, and it will be a boss, but if you fight that same Flame Drake at level 8, and you can probably handle 8 to 10 of them at once. But in video games, on the other hand, bosses are given a special treatment, and you almost never find a video game boss that comes back later as a lackey. There's something else entirely, they follow different rules, and that's because they fulfill a different role for the game. What a boss needs to do, above all else, is to stand out, both from regular monsters, but also from other bosses. For example, Let's take God of War 3. In that game, every single boss stands out so much. They can stand out on a narrative level, like Hades, because he's the culmination of a story that spanned 3 games at that point. They can stand out on a spectacle level, with jaw-dropping visuals and quick-time events, like the fight against Poseidon from Gaia's back.
I feel like we're getting to the point of, like you were saying, like, he's basically prefaced this in the beginning, saying, we can take things from video games and kind of put them into D&D and make them work kind of well. Literally doing what Aiden's been talking about, of literally making spectacles and such in your boss fights at certain HPs and stuff. Like, and again, not a bad thing. I'm glad. This is a great, honestly, make this the thing that everybody wants to do. Yeah, 100%. If we want to do this instead of legendary resistances, abso-fucking-lutely. Let's make them big spectacle set piece boss fights. Cool. You know? Like, nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
So I will also say, like, yeah, big spectacle, like, boss fights, can be really cool for your players. Definitely, I would encourage us all as DMs to do them. However, like, one of my most memorable boss fights I ever had was just an alligator that I made 60 feet long, bumped its, like, AC by, like, I think 8, and its HP by, like, a couple hundred.
Jesus.
And I said, okay, you are on a river. You are like a group of 3 rafts. And it attacks the center raft. The party is split up among the 3 rafts because I let them pick who's going where before they actually boarded. And I said, all right, how are you going to overcome the fact that your healer is out of range for everything he has? All of this to say, like, or I should say, I should add rather, when I woke up that morning, it was probably 15 minutes before session.
Sure.
And you chose violence.
And I said, you know what? They've not had a boss fight in a bit. I'm going to throw some shit at them today. And while, like, I was hopping into the Discord call and saying hi to everyone, I was randomly flipping through my monster manual for just anything that looked good.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I saw that they had an alligator, and I was like, oh, fuck, they have alligators in 5e? The big alligator.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, like, big memorable set piece boss fights absolutely can be pretty cool, but do not, as DM, like, pigeonhole yourself into approaching boss fights in only one way.
Oh, of course.
If you can think on your feet, you can and will make memorable boss fights.
Yeah, and I would also say that itself, like, that one as well, had the spectacle as well. Like, because it is big alligator on river with 3 separate rafts. Like, you've got that. You've still got the spectacle and the set piece going on for sure. It's still the element that is there, but anything can kind of become that depending on how you play out the situation, of course. Doesn't have to be big fucking, this is look, it's an angel, you know.
Yeah, you don't have to be cleaving mountains in half.
No,
you
of
can
course.
just have, like, oh fuck, the healer's fucking over there.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be cleaving mountains in half, but you could be cleaving mountains.
Yes.
You could.
You absolutely could. That's true.
I'm not stifling your creativity, DM.
Yeah.
Gotta appreciate that he's not blowing the problem out of proportion. Yes.
Yeah, that's also very nice.
It is refreshing.
Do you notice how little like interruptions we've had?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. It is literally just I'm finding myself sitting here going, this is good.
Yeah,
It's
this
just,
is
just decent.
So the next video that we should put on should be Garrett Bay.
I have the next video.
damn
And
it.
it's already it's
Garrett Bay.
no, it already sounds a little more aggressive.
It sounds like more.
It sounds a little more aggressive.
Okay.
So we'll see. But anyway, would it help to just give the boss enough HP to tank past 2 rounds? Well, so yeah, you could do that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And most of them are built to potentially be that way, but you can't take into account crits, right? You can't take into account necessarily the crowd control effects that are going to be used potentially. Like, all right, well, you can take them into account, but it might be that you start rolling like shit, you know, every time you try to resist it with your boss, quote unquote. So that is just another factor that you kind of have to take into account. Like, it's been said many a time, but no plan survives first contact. Your players will disrupt them somehow. Something will not go as planned. You just gotta kind of deal with it and hope that you made something that's gonna be fun, really. You know? It's not something that we can really stress over, or it is something you can stress over, but you shouldn't necessarily to a degree that would actually be a problem, right?
Yeah.
Also, I like how Pathfinder did things with the table. Yes, Pathfinder has good tables. Pathfinder is a good system. Never look down on alligators and crocodiles. They're a menace in Pather. Oh, Pathfinder 2e as well. Yes. Legendary resistance is kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of thing to me, says Slay. Hello. That's fair. Yeah, I mean, again, I've never experienced them myself in my games that I've played. And it doesn't seem like it's super necessary all the time. But if I were to encounter it, I would hope that it would be more than just and even if it was just I use a legendary resistance, I wouldn't be bothered, personally, because I understand the mechanic and I understand why it's there, right? Yeah. But I would also hope for a little bit more narrative. Like, it goes along with that.
They can stand out on a mechanical level, as every boss is usually the ultimate test of your skills at using the item you got from the previous boss, or they can stand out on a conceptual level, because they have some sort of a gimmick, like Hermes running away from you the entire fight, Perseus turning invisible, or Kronos being so big is basically a level. That's why in video games you'll find so many bosses who are basically designed like a puzzle. Beating them is all about trying to find the solution while surviving their powerful attacks. But the thing about puzzles is, once you have the solution, you won't...
So you like to play Castlevania?
have fun playing the same puzzle again. So that's the first thing we're going to change about legendary resistances. Instead of every boss monster getting that one trait every single time, I'm going to give you a selection of 20 different traits which fill the same role as a legendary resistance. So the next time you run a boss monster, you basically just need to look at the list and find a trait that you haven't used before that matches the aesthetic and themes of your next little murder kitten. For example, if you're running...
Okay. Thank you for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good shit.
Go to this
boss.
video.
Maybe you're going to
find
give it
this
the
table.
multiple limbs trait.
Use
if
it.
you're running an Archmage as a boss monster.
Continue, Alejo.
Oh, I was just saying, go to this video, find this table, use it. Like, that's...
Hey.
This is why this guy is great. Yes. That's
there
the
you
thing.
go.
That's the thing.
I really appreciate the amount of thought and homework he's put into his videos.
So, like, you see the description for multiple arms? It's literally what you were suggesting, Aiden.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
cool.
There it is. Good shit.
Yeah, so legitimately, as I said before with the first video that we covered of this guy, talking about CR and his fixes to it, he literally made a website to calculate CR with all of the factors. Like, this person is great.
Yes.
I appreciate all of the work that is put into this, because this is all for free as well. This is find a problem, this is make a solution, and this is release it to everyone to make it so that anyone can utilize it. It might not work for everyone, but it's there. Ugh, it's beautiful.
It's very good.
Yeah, fantastic.
At this point, resistance
Maybe
seems to not be not necessary, and a bonus if it doesn't. And a bonus if it does. Yeah, kind of. But utilizing this this table probably is going to be better, honestly.
going to give it the Arcane Deflection trait. Now let's get into the traits themselves, and I've separated them into 4 categories. First up is what I like to call costly resistances. Maya from Borderlands 2 is a pretty good example of this. Her signature ability, Phase Lock, suspends an enemy in the air for about 20 seconds, but it doesn't work against bosses. Instead, if you use your Phase Lock against a boss, you deal a good chunk of damage to it, about the equivalent of 10 melee attacks. Now the thing about Maya is that when you use your Phase Lock against the boss, you get something valuable, but you get something that's different from what you had bargained for. Something that's different from the reason you picked Maya in the first place. So another example, that's slightly better in my opinion, is Golden Sun. In that game, bosses take several turns per round, a bit like how 5e bosses have legendary actions. And in Golden Sun, when a boss gets stunned, it only gets stunned until the end of its next turn, so they lose out on a portion of their action economy, but not the entire thing. So for costly resistances, the idea is pretty simple. We tie the ability for the monster to resist a negative effect to some other resource that the players care about, like hit points, action economy, or maybe some high-level spell slots, for example.
Okay.
Smart bad person.
Smart bad person is very good. I love that.
Yeah.
I just want to...
For the monster to resist a negative effect to some other resource that the players care about, like hit.
Okay. Spooky bad person. From vampires to demons, adventurers often come across practitioners of the dark arts. This trait shows them at work, countering hostile magic by sacrificing their own life force. Damage should be equal to 1/5 of the creature's max hit points. Whenever the spooky bad person makes a saving throw, it can choose to take 30 damage to succeed on the saving throw instead. Yes! Yes!
That's a lot of damage, but yeah. Makes sense.
If you want to utilize this well, you get somebody with a lot of health, and then, you know, or hell, you could put it to somebody with low health, but they get 1, you know?
Yeah,
like,
or ooh, this would be another thing that would be interesting. It's kind of the it's basically Lookout Master, where it's the same thing, except instead of taking damage, he just chooses to eat one of his active minions.
Sure, yeah, you can do it that way too, for sure. It's like the things that we usually like to do with our fixes, quote unquote, our additions, I guess it is risk versus reward. We like all of us like to do that. Here, I've noticed. And with this, it is risk versus reward on the enemy side, which is really cool. I really, really like that. Yeah, he tells things clear. It's my fault I didn't follow. No, you're good. Don't worry about it. I like how much this guy cares. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Points, action economy.
If you haven't already, go to Trekaros's channel and subscribe to it and like videos and just go do it.
I'm not going to do that. You're not my dad.
That's true. I can't tell you what to do, but I'm going to suggest it very, very strongly.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Legendary bad person. You can see this trait.
If you don't do it, Alejo won't be mad at you. He'll just be disappointed.
You can see this trait as a sensible default if no other mechanic presented in this document is a particularly great fit for the encounter you had in mind. I also appreciate the wording.
Yeah.
On a creature with only 1 legendary action, the legendary resilience action should only cost 1 legendary action as well. There you go. Legendary actions 3 per round. The legendary bad person makes an attack. Legendary resilience costs all 3 actions. The legendary bad person ends 1 spell or harmful effect currently affecting it. The legendary bad person can use this action even if it is incapacitated and must use this action if it is currently charmed. There you go. Interesting. Okay. So, I'm wondering if we are substituting already existing legendary actions, or if this is just an addition to them, you know?
Yeah, I think it might be in addition.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Not your dad. I wonder how this will look like with the new 5e version. Sounds like it's going to be a DM nightmare. With the new one, I don't know. I don't know how. Again, like I said in the beginning, I've seen thumbnails and stuff. Apparently they fucked up. And I haven't looked into it because I don't really care.
Yes, true.
But at some point, potentially, we'll see. But at this moment, 5.5e is so not on my mind, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Vampire is.
Vampire is, absolutely. No. Yeah, humans should be more like this one. True. D&D YouTubers should at least, yes.
Yeah.
Or maybe some high
Okay, and then smart bad person. Whenever the smart bad person makes a saving throw, it can choose to spend a spell slot of 6th level or above to succeed instead. There you go.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah,
go.
didn't we read that one earlier?
No, I didn't read
No.
it at least. I hadn't seen it.
No.
But yes, it's the taking away other resources that to make it so that what you're doing to this threat is costly, you know?
Yes.
Legendary
More so than just taking away the legendary resistance itself.
Yes, again, it feels a little anemic, at least in current situations with how the current rule set is.
Yes.
But again, if you've spiced it up and you've made it so it works, that's great. You know, it'll work for you and your table. But this makes it so that, at least for me, it also makes it more of a something that I can see a lot more narrative coming from. You know, you get the idea in your head of like, ooh, this vampire spellcaster actually has to utilize something. Like, you see the magic coursing through so that it can actually utilize its spell to counter this. Like, you're basically kind of doing the counterspell thing, right? Yeah. But it's a little bit deeper than that, because it's like, oh no, you're not sacrificing their counterspell, you're sacrificing just their potential to cast spells.
Yes. Not to mention, it's a sixth level spell slot. That's high.
Exactly.
level spell slots, for example. And since we're making this a difficult choice for the boss, we're removing a lot of the collateral damage I talked about earlier. The boss is probably not going to spend 50 hit points to save against the Bane spell. It's just not worth it. So now you get to keep using that spell that you've been using for the past 2 years. Then we've got destructible resistances. My single favorite example of this is Tukohama from Path of Exile. In this boss fight, Tukohama has a special ability where he summons 4 totems, and until you've destroyed those 4 totems, Tukohama is immune to all kinds of things. Another pretty good example is Octopath Traveler. In that game, each boss is weak to up to 3 damage types. If you can figure out what those damage types are and then use them, eventually you break the monster's stance and stun it. Translated into D&D terms, here the resistance is provided by something the players can deal with without having to rely on luck
okay,
or
pause. Right there, this is just it's just a little funny thing that I noticed. Right then, when he said resistance, it's just his voice. It just sounded like he said, you break the boss's Riz stance, and I'm like, yo, god damn it. I hate that I've been infected with the fucking Gen Alpha bullshit now.
Riz has been around before Gen Alpha. I hate that they've co-opted it. I hate that they've co-opted so many things. It's stupid.
Yeah, they were we were we were born in and molded by the Riz. They merely adopted it.
I was sorry, one last thing on that note before we move away from it.
Yeah.
I was talking to a coworker of mine, a friend of mine, and they were like, yeah, I actually, as soon as I started hearing Gen Alpha slang, I understood why, like, exactly the same the old people are on the lawn shaking their canes at the young. Like, I get it now. And I went, yes, actually, I'm with you.
Yep.
Anyway,
I still find it so fucking funny that I can't be angry at it. That's the thing.
I've never found it funny, really.
Oh, it's not that the words themselves are funny. It's they are funny for using them in a way that they think is like a legitimate sentence. It's just hilarious to me.
It's the cringe factor, I guess.
So,
Yeah.
I've never been a
gotta give
cringe
it to
factor
them,
guy.
like, I take it on a word by word basis.
Sure.
Like Riz, like that's an S tier word. Like I like Riz.
Yeah, that's been around.
Describing things as Skibbity or Skibbity Ohio. I'm like, just shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
quit
that's
while you're
fucking
behind.
stupid.
Yeah. Stuff like that. It's like, because again, Riz has been around for way longer than they have, so.
Yeah, that's new to me.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, it has been around.
How long has it been around? I only started hearing Riz with Gen Alpha.
That's fair. I'm not entirely sure, but I know that I've heard it before Gen Alpha slang kind of popped off. So potentially that is just me hearing things that were starting to get into the vocabulary. But either way, Riz itself, I'm fine with.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, most everything else, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, the skibbity, the phantom tax, like what the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah, I don't. Anyway, the elder millennials have taken the cane of outrage from the boomers to shake at the new threat. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, dude.
And I have joined the front lawns.
It's not a passing of the torch, it's a passing of the canes.
Exactly.
Yo, I have a sword cane. So
Yeah, there you go.
I will stand by the fence in my front yard and I will keep the gate.
Yo, it is guarded by those who are on their way to death.
But yes,
Yes.
I really enjoyed bosses being weak to particular like melee damage types.
Yeah.
So like piercing versus like
Slashing.
piercing, slashing, what's the
Bludgeoning.
blunt do?
Bludgeoning or
Bludgeoning.
blunt.
So like one of the things that has been a big influence on me lately is I've been going through and I've been watching videos of Final Fantasy VII remake and rebirth. Something that I really like is, you build up by doing damage as a party to a boss, and then you stagger it, and while it's staggered, you deal 150% damage.
Right.
So
Nice.
that's when you blow out like your big attacks. And I've been thinking about how to integrate that into D&D. Make maybe 1 or 2 thresholds of like, once this boss takes 30 points of piercing, 15 points of bludgeoning, and 20 points of slashing. Like once you reach any one of those conditions, they are staggered for a round and perhaps lose their turn.
Sure.
Or I don't know. I still have to workshop it a bit, but I just really like this staggering mechanic.
I honestly just want to see more vulnerabilities and weaknesses, because I don't see that being utilized enough, at least in my own games that I've played. Just in the sense that, unless, to be fair, in Devils and Dice we had it pretty prominent for some things. Like it was pretty easy to figure out, the things that live in the snow do not like the fire.
Yeah,
like,
that's pretty easy.
Right? Like stuff
Basic
like that.
elemental stuff.
Exactly, basic elemental stuff. But like you don't see a lot of the it's weak to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing kind of stuff anymore.
Yeah, a lot of the times it's usually a resistance to it.
Yes.
It's never usually very weak to it. Like
Exactly.
skeletons, they are resistant to I know piercing, I think slashing.
Yeah.
But they're not
Bludgeoning
weak to
is.
bludgeoning.
Right, exactly. There used to be that you had the weaknesses for bludgeoning and such, because it was like, I mean, you can absolutely and I think it was because they didn't have the vulnerabilities to the resistances, to slashing and piercing before, but they had a weakness to bludgeoning, so it was like, you got like the guy in the back with the club. It's his time to shine. Go, Yeah.
Guy who didn't have enough money to buy a good sword, and so he grabbed a tree branch and called it a club. Yo,
exactly.
And
so and then it's like also like, in those instances you can utilize I would be fine with utilizing weapons in different ways to do different damage types, the flat of your blade instead of the actual
blade
part. Yeah.
Edge. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Edge.
Or even if your fighter, for instance, is really heavily armored, he can half hilt the sword.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Start using it as and for anyone in the audience who is unaware, if you have a gauntleted hand, you can wield your sword by the blade and hit people with the handle and the pommel, and that is called half hilting.
Yes.
It's very cool.
It is very cool.
It was actually discovered in like medieval sword manuals,
Yes.
Yes,
stuff
it
like
was.
that.
Yes.
So now that we're talking about fighting in general and combat, I have something that I think it would be really interesting because it's in a battle system and we're going back to video games.
Really quick.
That
Really quick, Boo, before we
Yeah.
got too far off, I just wanted to say, I think there is a character in For Honor who half-ilts.
Yes. Yes, there is.
ah.
I don't remember who, but
No,
yes.
no, please continue.
Okay. In the Trails series, so like Trails in the Sky, Trails of Cold Steel and stuff, they have it is a real-time. Oh wait, no, it's turn-based. It's turn-based, but it's like a 3D moving arena where you can do stuff. But on the side of the screen that shows the turn order, there are different effects that happen on each turn where it's like if your character or the boss goes, or the enemy, whatever, goes on this turn, they will restore 100 health, or they'll restore or gain some of their like skill points that let them use abilities and stuff. There's also ones where it's like you do double damage, or you get a little bit of a heal. So I think it'd be kind of interesting to implement a system where you can kind of do like a little bit of a haste thing. So you have these like tracks set up that you just kind of you make them in your off time, and you just have it be like for like the first actions, the first like 3 or so actions, there's nothing, and then someone will gain some health, and then after that someone will lose a spell slot, and someone will then I don't know, someone gets poisoned or something like that, and you'd kind of need to set this in a weird area to have it make narrative sense. But I think it'd be really interesting to be like, okay, I see that's coming up on the turn tracker, so I'm gonna try to force the boss into a turn slot where he'll get poisoned or something like that. I think it would be very difficult to do. You'd have to basically come up with a whole other system.
Yeah.
But I really loved that portion of the melee in that game, and I think it'd be really interesting and cool if you could somehow swing that in a way that would be interesting and fun in D&D.
I think you could probably do it by making certain weapons kind of act that way after certain rounds of combat. You know, you enter combat, certain rounds of combat, then it activates a thing every such and such rounds, right?
Yeah. Or like you have an armor that's like every 2 rounds. It's like, oh, it heals you for like, I don't know, 20 HP.
Exactly. It becomes, it's like magical items that can do that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be really interesting. I
kinda
don't know
cool.
how you would be able to like, maybe you could introduce like a spell or a boss ability where it's like, I'm going to steal that effect for that turn.
Yeah.
And like I get that effect.
Yeah.
Because in that game, since it's a turn-based game, it's all about the strategy of like I'm gonna, I want to try to go on that turn that gets me healed, so I'm gonna use a spell with another character that makes me have higher initiative, stuff like that.
Yeah. It's about positioning in the tracker.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. There's a couple of games that are like that I've played before, but yeah, they're pretty cool when you do that in such a way. Slash trying to get the enemies to get off their track, because,
Yes.
Yeah, it's neat. Yeah.
Because one of the things that you do in that game is you can activate let's see, I don't remember exactly how to do it, but basically you can choose to use your ultimate abilities on either your turn or in the middle of an opponent's turn. So, like, let's say your opponent is going and they're like using a spell or something. So they're going through the whole animation of the spell. You input this thing and you shove yourself into the next slot in the order. And if there's an effect on that turn, you get that effect during the turn you're using your ultimate.
Cool.
So it's a really interesting way to be like, yo, there's a double damage coming up on that turn. I'm stealing that shit for me.
Yeah. Let's see. Generational gap stuff is stupid to me. There is no reason for younger or older people to get under your skin. It's just words, you know?
Yeah, it's just word. It doesn't actually. We're just like, God, this is dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we don't actually care that
I
much.
don't care if the people are using it. I'm not gonna stop them, you know? I'm just gonna go
You're not
over
their
here.
dad.
Exactly. I'm
Thank
not their
God.
dad. I can't stop them, but I will just like roll my eyes whenever I hear
I will
words.
think less of you for it.
Yeah. But that's not going to affect you, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I handle it on a word by word basis.
Yeah.
Let me cook. Or
That's funny.
raise.
That's just funny.
Those are some good words.
Yeah.
I use those because I like them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just like any
but,
language, really.
Yeah, but there's just some that aren't like they're just some misses.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What was it? It was the same thing. Like there was some slang before that was like one of them is ratchet, and like I hear that,
but
and
you don't hear that shit anymore.
Oh, I have a couple of times actually.
But how many times have you heard Ohio versus
Never.
ratchet?
Never actually. Literally never.
Bullshit.
No, only
You've heard
you.
Ohio.
Only you. Literally only you. So I don't count it.
I get inflicted with it by Boo and also my boss at work.
Ah. Okay.
I'm sorry, but also fuck you. I win.
No, I just think less of you.
Of the podcast.
But yeah, so but yeah, that's one that when I first heard it like 7 years ago, I think, I went, "Oh, why don't you just okay?" And then I just moved on.
Yeah.
But anyway. I understand now why the old man yells at Cloud. The Cloud was in the wrong. True. If you want a good stagger mechanic, look at how it works on monster units in Fire Emblem 3 Houses. Okay. For millennials, I'm pretty sure it's old Sephiroth yells at Cloud. True. Not gonna lie, I thought when Boo said lose a spell slot, he was saying lose a spouse, and was like, that's one hell of a penalty.
Yeah, goddamn. Joke's on you. No one's married.
Funny.
The boss is never married specifically so he could do that.
Funny you mentioned Trails. I'm at the end of Trails to Azure.
Oh, nice. Don't say anything about it. I haven't played it yet. I've been out of JRPGs for a long time ever since I finished Trails of Cold Steel, because that was like 240 hours
yeah, that'll
for
do
all
it.
4 games.
That'll do it.
I haven't played it yet. I'm going to.
There's a red button next to the character portrait. Click
Yeah, you click that, and that's how you activate the ultimate.
the S-Craft move next in the order.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that.
Okay, cool. Anyway.
Wasting time and resources, but to the players, it will feel like they've earned the right to stun the boss rather than just bash their heads against the wall until it worked. Third, we've got multi-phase encounters. There are countless examples of this in video games, from Mega Man all the way to Elden Ring, and the idea is pretty simple as well. So, your players have encounter-ending effects. Let them do it. If you plan your boss battles to basically be multiple encounters linked into one, then those spells and abilities will only end one phase of your overall encounter. And the cool thing about that is, D&D combat tends to follow a snowball curve. As the players deal with the minions and understand what the boss can do and prepare for it, at some point we just start kind of going through the motions.
Yeah,
the outcome has kind of become obvious to everyone, we just have to do a lot to actually get there. If you've watched my last video where I mentioned the Fiction curve, you'll know that this is not how good pacing works. As soon as the players get a bit too comfortable, that's when you want to bring the tension back and up the ante. And a multi-phase encounter has a tendency to set up exactly that kind of pacing. Last but not least,
again, just a good thing to do. Yeah, make it so your things have multiple phases. Cool. Let's do it.
Yes, we like multiple phases.
We like phases.
we have passive threats. One example I like is Drill from Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. This Cthulhu knockoff has an attack where he throws 2 javelins of lightning at the ground, and they shock the entire area around where they land. The players can destroy those javelins, but until they do, even if Drill decides to go take a picnic, he's still dealing damage to them. Again, you just kind of let those encounter effects actually take hold, but then you design your boss in a way that even if they're paralyzed, they're still being a threat, just passively.
It's kind of one of those things of like maybe even incorporating layer actions, you know, because layer actions are something that I rarely see as well. Because you're barely fighting in a layer unless you've really set it up to be.
Yeah.
So we could kind of take that and just transpose it to just it's part of what the things can do in order to spice things up, right?
Yeah.
And then we can just go, oh, it's constantly creating a sandstorm that is buffeting you. Hey, it's Final Fantasy. Or, you know, do something to that effect so that we can have these, it's influencing the environment actively, you know?
I think a big problem, well, okay, it's not really a problem with layers, but an issue with layers sometimes is that a lot of times, if the players know that something has a layer and that it's, you know, got layer stuff, they're usually going to do whatever they can to either draw it out of its layer or not, or do something to not have to deal with it, thus basically making it so the layer almost isn't worth existing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even without the metagame aspect, it's just smart to not fight something on its own turf.
Yeah.
You know, like that's just a tactic that you don't want them to be able to employ. So you're probably going to find them trying to draw it out regardless. And again, I don't fault anybody for doing that at all. It's a smart thing to do.
Absolutely.
It just makes it so the layer stuff does not come into play. It just, again, it feels like a vestigial kind of mechanic that is just there. Potentially could be used, but you rarely see it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if we just go, ooh, nice, take, and then just put it somewhere else into an actual active combat, then I feel like we can really kind of spice up what these adversaries can do.
It's less of a threat.
And their gravitas, because they're literally making the environment bend to their will.
Yeah, it's like, think about the elder dragons in Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
You know, when you fight the Kirin,
Yeah.
there's a fucking lightning storm going on where it's never going on.
Exactly.
And that's always really thematic and scary, because when you start the mission, you're like, oh fuck, this area is completely different from how it is normally.
Yep.
Just from this thing's mere presence.
Kushala as well.
Oh,
fucking
please no.
Tornadoes everywhere.
Fuck you. No.
I'm fine with it. I have no
I'm
problems. It's like one of the easiest things to deal with ever.
You know, now that I think about it, it's a bit weird that Fatalis doesn't have an environmental effect.
Yeah, he really honestly should, but he's more just, he's not really elemental. So I can understand it.
I guess so, yeah.
And if they hadn't been paralyzed, but that's okay, your control caster needs to feel like they've had some sort of an impact, right? And now the secret sauce. When I wrote this video about 6 months ago, I wrote that there's another way to tackle legendary resistances, and it would be to update every single save or suck spell in the game so that they still have an effect on a successful save, just a weaker one. But to be honest, that was a bit more work than I was willing to put in a single video, so I originally just mentioned it in passing. But then, about 3 months ago, DM's Guild creator Daniel Kahn hit me up, along with Spencer Hibnick, senior tester for MCDM, with a pitch for a book that would do exactly that thing I had decided would be too much work for me alone. So I said, let's do it, and we did it. And it's on DM's Guild today. This is...
Wow, there you go.
Thank you for yet another resource.
Yes, exactly. Again, go over to this video, like it, find the things.
Name?
This is Trekeros.
Okay.
Yeah. Go over there and subscribe and everything, please. Find, like, again, so far 2 absolute banger videos, entirely hits. They just keep coming so far. And I'm happy.
Basically another, more labor
Damn, bro is so good that others want him. True.
Mhm.
intensive way to do costly resistances, except what you get is always going to line up with what you had signed up for, which feels so much better for the players. And we do that by introducing the notion of a close save. If you've used Draw Poison in your game, it's basically
Chiral, only in a place far removed from sunlight.
Oh,
Creatures
yeah,
subject
yeah,
to this
yeah,
poison.
yeah. It's like one of the only things in 5e that actually has a if you only save by a little bit, or fail by a little
Oh.
bit, I mean.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Basically the same.
I've always found that kind of weird that like it's everywhere in Pathfinder.
Yeah,
Nowhere
we
in
don't-
D&D
but we don't
almost.
see it at all in D&D except for Drow Poison.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's really strange. It's almost like Pathfinder thought of doing a better thing.
Yeah.
Sounds like Pathfinder's. It's almost like it were a superior system.
Mhm.
I don't know why.
Bullshit color.
Mm.
You done good, robot dude. You done good. Exactly.
Same principle. If the target saves by 5 or less, they make a close save and get a weaker version of the spell's full effects. Otherwise, they make a full save and they get away scot-free. For example, we have the Dominate Person spell, and with that book on a close save, the creature basically suffers the effect of the Charm Person spell instead. Granted, these effects will absolutely make casters even stronger than they already are.
Yes.
The book gives you a bunch of options to drip feed these variant spells to your players. For
Good.
example,
Well, there's no reason why you couldn't like take inspiration from this vein and apply it to melee
Exactly.
people.
Just give them
Like,
big
yeah,
thing.
Maybe you knock them back only 5 feet instead of 30.
Yes, exactly. We can
you
do
have
it.
the Gem of Reliable spell, which gives you one variant spell from the book at the cost of one of your attunement slots. So yeah, if any of this sounds cool, go check it out on DM's Guild. But either way, you're still getting those 20 legendary resistance alternatives for free, because that's the entire premise of the channel. PDF in the video description. That's it
There
for
you
today's
go.
video about this one very specific aspect of boss battles. There's a lot more to talk about, so tell me, which video game bosses have you used as inspiration for your tabletop RPG games and why? If you want more videos like this one, make sure you like, subscribe, and all of that good stuff. You can also find me on Discord where we talk about game design and I sometimes share sneak peeks of what I'm working on next.
Cool.
Until then, have a good one.
Thank you,
Fucking
Triggerus. You have earned yourself a new sub who has rung the notification bell.
there you go. We did it. Yes, absolutely. Like, again, the link is, as always, is in the description of the video and the stream. So please go over to that video and get those resources, like the video itself. Subscribe to the guy. Like, it's
Yeah,
it's
show
good.
the channel some love. God knows they deserve it.
Exactly. When you do good things and good work, you should be given good. So do. I suggest it to you. I suggest it strongly. It's almost a demand how strongly I suggest it. Almost. But I could never demand anything of
But
you.
it could never be technically called a
No, no,
demand,
no.
because it is a suggestion.
It is a suggestion, and I am not your father, so I cannot demand it of you. And even if I was, you wouldn't listen anyway. I know you. So just, it's a suggestion. If only people played Pathfinder. Sigh. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I watched a bunch of Brogan's videos a bit on Pathfinder is pretty good. Yes, and there's even the newest edition. So yeah, man, if only someone was my dad and could demand it. Unfortunately, no. That's not a role that anyone here can fill. So.
There's Garabay and his 10 Commandments.
No, that's okay. No, that's all right.
Now, see,
You
that's the
wanna see
thing.
Garabay as a father figure?
That's the problem. See, you say they wanted someone to tell them what they
Yes.
should think, but he's not
Demands.
telling you.
He's demanding.
He's forcing you.
That's true. That's true. Anyway, good video. Good channel.
Forcing you at Bible point.
Go-
No.
Ugh.
Ugh.
So, absolutely many things that we can do instead of doing just base legendary resistances, and I'm a fan of all of them. Now, the next video that we have lined up in our queue here is called running the worst version of your game.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, Aiden, are you good for another one, or how are you feeling? I just want to check in.
Thank you for checking in. Because the last video was so good, I still have energy.
Okay, cool. Then let us.
I've not had to break my brain for this episode.
True,
so-
true.
A rare
So,
occurrence.
Welcome back.
indeed,
Mm.
indeed. So this is running the worst version of your game by GDS. No idea, but I saw the thumbnail that said, if I can find it again, hold on. Is there like a thumbnail viewer kind of thing that I can just look at the thumbnail without having to look at it like the entire video somewhere else? Yes. Oh, thumbnailpreview.com. Look at you. Wow. Oh no, that's not it. Never mind.
Mhm.
Oh, these are just like, oh, look at the what the fuck? Oh, there we go. Okay.
No.
Boing boing. Yeah. So
Check this one out. It's from Trekoros's alternatives to legendary actions.
yeah. Oh,
Check that
time
one out.
traveling bad person. Instant
Okay.
replay. Let me see.
Yo.
Let me put this on the screen for everybody to see before I read. Okay. Time traveling bad person. Instant replay. Whenever a creature the time traveling bad person can see makes an attack roll ability check, saving throw, the time traveling bad person can make the creature re-roll it. No action required. After using this ability, if the time traveling bad person uses this ability again before the start of its next turn, it takes 10 force damage for each use beyond the first. Wow.
Neat.
I like
would
that.
be really cool for like some AoE spells that you have to save against or do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Save against or take an effect, and the time traveling bad person can like force the issue a bit and like make you re-roll.
Yeah, for sure. So let's see. Piccolo can be your father figure, true. If Garibay was my father figure, patricide wouldn't be a crime. I can accept Garibay for that. It will give me a father figure to not listen to. Very good. Very good. So the thumbnail itself is you always run the worst version of your game. Which is an interesting and aggressive thumbnail, which is why I
Yeah.
went, So,
Alejo, you got something to say?
no,
current
this person
vampire?
does. Thank you.
Well, I don't know. It seems like he might have. He might be exposing you.
No. I'm not. I'm good at what I am doing.
That's good.
Yes.
I'll be the judge of that. I think.
No.
Or
I think
him.
this person is. I guess already
Yes.
preemptively. Precog. Anyway, that smile of his hurt me on the thumbnail. Yeah. Well. All right. So here we go. Running the worst version of your game. GDS.
Everybody, this is GDS. I wanted to make this quick video today about taking feedback when you run the game. This video is not going to be a comprehensive guide on taking feedback or playtesting, just some common pain points that I have found that people sometimes don't do the best at when
You clickbaited me, you bastard. You clickbaited me so hard. I don't want to watch your video now, but I'm going to. So you clickbaited me.
they take feedback. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks and resolutions to those pain points that I identified, but if you want something that's a little more comprehensive, I'm going to include in the nonsense below a great guide specifically on tabletop RPG playtesting. It was written by Pesto Publications, not me, and it's completely free, so there's no reason to not check it out. And before we start
Sure.
this video, I want to see you go to the blah blah below and give us some of your best tips, tricks, advice for taking and incorporating feedback when you run the game.
Let's start there. Let's do that. Just to have a little thought experiment. What are your tips? What is your advice? Please jump in.
For taking feedback.
For taking feedback and implementing it. Yes.
Oh.
I just usually take feedback and implement
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Was that a trick question?
No, I mean, like, I don't know what else you can really do.
Mhm.
You know, because
Yeah, there's no twist that I can put on taking feedback
Yeah.
and listening to your friends who you are ostensibly running the game for.
Exactly.
A lot of people or some people, I should say,
Yes.
can have anxiety with coming to their game master and being like, hey, would you switch this portion of the game? I don't like it.
Right.
Or even we don't like it.
Right.
And that's something that you as DM need to respect of like, oh, hey, it might not have been easy to come forward to me about this.
Yeah.
It may have been, and if that is like the relationship at your table among your friend group, that's great.
Mhm.
However, like, you should probably listen when people say, hey, I don't like this.
Exactly.
Like, just in general.
I mean, it's the same as literally anything in life. If somebody has some feedback for you that is rational, no matter how it's delivered, if it's rational in the sense of this is something that is not good, and I think that you have the ability to change it, then you can listen to that feedback, and if it is something that you can do, you can even follow that feedback and change something. So, I don't know. I guess maybe it's just you as a player should give yourself credit and say, "Oh, I actually do have some feedback here, some questions, comments, concerns, and actually do have that confidence in yourself to say, "Ooh, Mr. DM man, I know you are the ruler of all things in this game, but potentially, maybe we could change this one thing."
Mhm.
Potentially.
Well, I don't know how I feel about that. I think I'm gonna have to remove you from the game. Yeah. And then you do the fucking dissolving
Exactly,
emoji
yes, the
screen.
dissolving. But that's in all likelihood not going to happen, obviously, because most of us, I would venture to say, are reasonable and will actually listen to the feedback because we want to present the best experience possible.
Yes.
Now, obviously, we've had an example that was not too recent, or not that far off, which was the 44 rules that came out at one point, where
Which was hilarious.
feedback was not taken and implemented. So don't do that, basically.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, just remember that we're all playing a silly little fun game. It's cool.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, it can be serious and all that stuff, and it can matter to you, but it doesn't mean that it isn't something that is not necessarily your goddamn life.
Yes.
Like it's fine. It is a game at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Not saying that because of anybody in particular, I promise. Nobody that we've ever covered.
Obviously.
No. Anyway,
Why would you even say that?
I don't know. This man is 2 seconds away from calling it the doobly-doo. Yeah, nonsense and blah blah. Interesting.
Yeah, very weird.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
Please give feedback, players. Tell me how bad I tell me how I am
Yeah.
bad at this. It fuels me. Exactly.
Most of the time, it's us as DMs begging our players for feedback.
Exactly.
I mean, and the thing is, the way I give feedback, I feel like it's a really I feel like it is a good way to get feedback because I like to try to construct things in and hilariously gotta use the same word twice. I construct what I want to say so that people can take it constructively and like, work with it.
Yes.
And so when I give feedback and like when people are asking me for feedback, I just say it was fine. Gotcha.
Exactly. That's the
It
best
was
one.
certainly a D&D session.
Yep. Yeah. No.
Oh
How
god.
was the game? It was fine.
It was certainly a D&D session of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That would fucking hurt.
Yeah. Right.
Oh,
That would be the worst.
I'm trying not to put too much thought into it because,
Yeah.
like, if I heard that, it would
Oh.
send me into a spiral.
Yeah, oh
I
for
would
sure.
go, oh god, what was wrong?
Yeah.
What, do I need to fix? Do I need to bring snacks next
Yeah,
time?
right. Exactly. Boo, you monster. It's fine.
But yeah, no, like whenever I finish a session across whatever campaign, I've always asked in this order, do you have any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, or criticisms?
Exactly.
Like give me anything to go off of. I am like doing this session for you guys.
Yes.
Please help me help you.
Yes. And for us, when we are playing, I don't say anything at this point, because it's just like, if you guys have anything to say to me, you will. You know? Like, I don't need to ask for it, and if you think about it later, I know you'll tell me about it, right? Like, because that's just how we work, and it's fine. But if I were running anything for anybody else, I'd be like, okay. Well, could you just tell me what you actually... Could you tell me what you actually think, though, please? Because because if you say it's fine, I will cry.
Fine, that is not what you think it means.
That reminds me, Alejo.
Yeah.
Last night, actually, I thought of something for my character in Vampire the Masquerade.
Oh, okay.
I think it was a backup character. I don't know.
Sure.
I lost it. I'm trying to recollect it. I'll
Okay.
probably DM you once I find it.
Yeah, sounds good. But yeah. Anyway. We usually do play our D&D at the end of the day. That's because at the end of the day, it's night. True. Alright.
It can be new stuff that you just learned today as a new GM, or it can be stuff that you developed over years of experience running the game. Regardless of which case is true, this is a small channel. I don't get many comments. If you comment below, I'm going to see it and heart it and probably respond, so let's get a conversation going.
Sure.
Now to the video. Effectively giving and taking feedback can
Oh, here's my first bit of feedback to you. Don't do your clickbait shit. Don't like that. The only reason why I'm watching this is because of the show. I would have clicked off.
Difficult even if you're already experienced at running or playing games. That's because the former requires separate skills from the latter. So I have 4 main points, which are tips and also include common downfalls that people sometimes hit when they try to implement them. The first thing, and maybe the most important, is to make it clear that everyone in the table is working towards a common goal. That common goal is everybody having fun and feeling like they're a valued member of this community. This means that you should be intellectually humble and open to being wrong. Especially, you should be open to something that you strongly believe being wrong, or some mechanic or piece of design that you really love just not working out. And then when you do give or receive feedback on your design, especially when it's negative, be very clear about the intentions. Why are we all here? We are here to help each other by giving each other feedback. The reason we make this effort to give each other even negative feedback is because we care. Running a game, having a discussion on it, giving and receiving feedback is work. So it's important to recognize why we're willing to do this work.
I think it's just a good thing to have overall for anything, because unfortunately, most of the time, people just view any sort of criticism as purely negative. Purely. It's really unfortunate. And again, I've said this many a time, but it doesn't matter how you necessarily present a point. It will influence how it's taken, sure, but at the end of the day, if your point is strong, it's something that should still be considered. But excuse me, I fucking am dying.
I can hear that.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know. This is a very much a, you should be open and flexible. And that's just how we've talked about it so much. Or talked about the game and running it so many times. It's just been like, as long as you're flexible with pretty much anything, you're fine. You're gonna be fine, because I know for a fact, literally, if anything happens for Vampire, and somebody's like, oh, I don't like that, or somebody's like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do something like this, and then I would go, okay, cool, because, like, at the end of the day, I don't care about, like, the sanctity of my game, quote unquote, you know, like, I don't care about, like, the story itself being strictly such and such ways. Like, there's nothing that will make me say, oh, but it has to be this way, you know, because that's never going to be the case. There's no reason for everything to absolutely, indisputably need to be such and such a way, unless I guess I really want it to be. And at that point, it's a question of, is my want better or greater than the other person's desire for it to be different? You know? In which case, then it comes to the point of, like, okay, reevaluate, is that just me being, like, kind of selfish about it? Or is that just, like, is it actually something that should be, that is actually, like, needs to be implemented this way? Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. It's just, it seems like it's common sense, but it's something that does need to be said, unfortunately. And we've had to say it a bunch, so I don't fault him for having it be a point that we're talking about, of like, oh yeah, you know, take it and do it.
Alejo, really quick,
Yeah.
I remembered the two vampire things.
Okay. I'll make
the
a note.
thing relating to my character
Yes.
is not for you. It's for my relation with Nicolas.
Okay.
So no worries there, but I
Okay.
do have a question.
I have an answer potentially.
Gangrels,
Yes.
or gangrel, do like animal shit, right?
Mostly, yeah.
Do they do anything with fish?
Good question. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll think about it. Yeah,
it's always like, whenever they're described in the books, it's always mammals and stuff.
Usually,
but
yeah.
It's never said it couldn't be
exactly.
fish.
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking I would really like a vampire who hunts alongside some piranha.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as the piranha bloody the waters, my like vampire swims through and kind of filter feeds.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't see why that couldn't be something. So the filter feeding aspect would be interesting, because I don't know if that's an efficient way to do it, in the sense of, like,
no, it's horribly inefficient.
Yeah, mechanically, like, I would probably make it so that it is inefficient. You would probably have to kill people to get enough blood to like.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the killing was a foregone.
I see. All right, yeah, but yeah, I mean, I don't see why that couldn't be the case. Yeah. So it's never been something that I have read about or has come up before. So, but I am totally down for that. Yeah.
Because I would also really like, I mean, it probably won't be this campaign because we are in Las Vegas.
Yes.
But I would really like a bayou gangrel.
Oh, yeah.
Like ties to alligators and shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. That'd be super cool. He has Catan. That means he has board game street cred. Yeah, you can see all of it. There's a lot of it. Again, it's
There's
only
his
it's-
nerd cred.
Exactly.
Delayed it even.
It is all on one shelf, and I get it, but yeah, doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
Isn't that really some coincidence that the Thanos Rising is angled directly with the camera?
Hmm.
Funny how that works out.
Weird.
Yeah.
The clickbait was so toxic, it's killing Alejo. No, it's just one of those things where I'm already kind of at a lower point than I was at neutral, because he's not talking about the thing necessarily. He's using it as clickbait specifically. So,
Yeah.
a lot of reviewers can't take criticism. I try not to be like that. Yeah, exactly. Areniers are always
Arrhenius.
Arrhenius are always pretty good at giving you criticism. What are Arrhenius?
Yeah. Arrhenius are devils that are fallen angels.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you're right. Okay, cool. Anyway.
And in that regard, my final tip for number 1 is don't lose sight of the goal. The goal is to receive feedback and then do whatever you want with it. So if somebody gives you feedback that you disagree with, don't argue. Refuse that urge, even if you strongly disagree. This doesn't...
Tell them their criticism is wrong.
Yeah, I immediately don't agree with that. Sorry. I think that we can have a civil discussion or at least some sort of debate about it if I believe that you are incorrect, and I can give my reasoning and you can give your reasoning and we can hash it out. Even if it ends at a stalemate, that's fine, but I don't think that arguments are not negative, right? Like, argumentation is there to debate is there to get to the core issue, to understand both sides and how they view it, and to come to a mutual understanding at the end of it. Like, that's what it's for. I understand what you see, out there a lot of the time, especially in the higher points of our political system, usually these days, unfortunately, where it's just slinging mud at each other until somebody cries. But that's not how, actual debate works.
Yeah.
So I completely and utterly disagree. Unfortunately. So, Sorry, Aiden, I don't know if you had, I might have cut you off.
No, I was gonna say that, the only mud, being, slung at my tabletops is when I say, "How was this session?" and they say, "It was fine," and tears well up in my eyes.
Exactly, yes.
Only make sure that you are being respectful to the people playing and testing your game. It also means that, again, you keep your sight on the goal, and don't argue just because it feels righteous. The second tip I have...
What?
I think he's just saying, I disagree, is fine as a response to criticism.
Okay. I hope so.
It's weird. This is a weird one.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not entirely sure what that... Okay.
Yeah, strange.
Have on giving and receiving feedback is to ask yourself, what kind of feedback do you actually want? Implied in that is that you shouldn't just ask players, did you like it? Or did you have fun? Or did you enjoy it? Like we said before, the skills...
Well, I mean, that's part of it, Like, yes, you definitely want more, and I assume you're going to talk about there being more to it than that. But those are good, icebreaker questions, Get them in the mood to actually talk to you about it.
And designing games are completely different from the skills of giving feedback. So, experienced players may not be experienced feedback givers. So instead of asking for broad feedback, tell people exactly the kind of feedback that you want to receive. Something important is when you do this, when you ask questions about something specific that you are curious about, don't ask the question in a leading way. Don't try to lead players towards a specific answer. You want to be careful and make sure that the feedback you get is as unbiased as possible. I
Yeah,
think
because
one good
otherwise,
way
I
to
mean,
do
if you ask leading questions, then you can't convict them. So as long as you do it correctly, you'll be fine.
Mm.
this, especially if you're a beginner, is to ask yourself, what kind of things are you unsure about this session? Answer the question honestly, and at this stage, don't worry about being concise. It might go something like, well, I'm worried that combat dragged on for a little too long, but it's hard to tell from my point of view because I'm running all the bad guys.
That's interesting because when he said, "What are you unsure about?" I didn't think about combat. You know,
Yeah.
What-
So when he said, "Be careful not to ask leading questions,"
or
and then
general
cited
ones.
an example
Yeah.
of a leading question.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, if what are you unsure about? Okay. I guess how the rest of the game might be going. Like, I don't know where we're going from here. Like, unsure is a very broad thing as well, I guess, because like, if you want to use the unsure tag, I suppose, then go, how are you feeling unsure about, if we want specifics, unsure about combat? Are you unsure about how I'm running the game? Are you unsure about the story that we are going with right now? Is that something that doesn't feel like it's making sense, like that kind of thing? Like, you can utilize the word, but if you want it to be more specific, as you claim, then maybe don't just say, what are you unsure about?
Yeah.
Because that's a really broad question.
Yeah, it's not very helpful.
I don't think so, because if I were to get the feedback of, I'm unsure where I'm going with my character, then I would go, oh.
Why?
That's interesting, because, I don't know. I personally don't know how to deal with that just yet, because unless we're, deep into a campaign, a few sessions in, so that I know more about their character and how they're acting, if it's, off the bat, then I'm like, ooh, well, we still have, you have time to, understand them as much as I am trying to understand them, so we can build this together, and figure it out, right? But before that, it's I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if a player came up to me at the end of the session and just apropos of nothing dropped, I am unsure of if I like where my character is going.
Yeah.
That's something where I would hear them say that, and I would sort of kind of blink off time, and I would go, okay, what do you want me to do about that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it is their character. Yeah.
I do mean that genuinely. Is there a way I can help you with that?
Right.
But characterization of your character is up to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
If you want your moves to deal different effects, if you want your special weapon maybe reworked to follow a different flavor, I will 100% work with you on that, but I need to know more specifics about what you don't like and what you have for your new vision for your character.
Right. Exactly.
Mhm.
So it's something that if we do go for specifics when we're asking for feedback, then it will spawn into more general things as well, because something will click with something else, and usually it opens the floodgate, right? It'll make it so that they're thinking more critically about it, hopefully. So I'm fine with the general aspect. It's just you're gonna have to be prepared for it's a little harsh, but generally useless feedback.
Yeah.
You know? But you know what I mean, right? Like, it's just like,
Oh yeah,
it's unfortunate, but that's like what it is. Which
we've all been DM before.
Exactly.
We know what you're talking about.
yeah, exactly. So if you really want that, just go as specific as possible. Did it surpass Shakespeare? There we go. That's specific. Why not just say, how was combat instead of beating around the bush? Yes, that's also fair. Like, that's specific stuff. Did that combat feel at least well-paced? That's, like, something that I would ask. And depending on the person, it might change, which is something that I can then gauge and utilize as, like, a broad overview of how everybody feels about it.
Yeah, just ask, is there anything that stood out to you guys about today's combat?
Exactly. Start with broad and then go deeper. So you can, absolutely, but we have to be specific broad. You know? Like, because literally what Aiden just asked, that's like the amount of specificity that I would go for. Because then you're talking about something specific in combat, and then it's also about all of combat. So then we have the broadness of the entire, like, everything to do with combat that we can then build off of, you know? I don't know, it works in my brain.
I just like, is there anything that stood out to you about today's blank?
Yeah.
Because, like, it can jar players to have, like, they may have had some tangential thought, like, oh wow, this combat's really dragging on. And then, like, a few rounds later, they've already shifted their focus away from that.
Yes.
But saying, hey, is there anything that stood out to you, can help, like, jar them, going, oh yeah, no, this occurred to me.
Yes.
And I say, okay, cool. Thank you for that feedback. I will do something with it or not. How does everyone else feel about it?
Exactly.
Was this point valid?
Exactly. I didn't like when you cut off my hands. Well, then you shouldn't have been a dice tosser. Exactly.
You shouldn't have fucking cheated.
Shouldn't have done it. I wasn't gonna say this, but the vibe of this guy is like workplace anti-racism / harassment videos. So far, yes. I understand entirely. I was thinking the same thing. Wasn't gonna say it.
That is one hell of an accurate description.
Wasn't gonna say it. But
you know, it's like
like
when you say something like, that woman is giving me a look like, don't you come anywhere near me, because if you do, I'm going to reach into my purse and grab my mace and I'm going to shove it up your ass before starting to spray it, and then I'm going to kick you in the dick and then run away and get in my car and run you over. And then you just ask, what the fuck kind of look is that? That's one hell of a that's one hell of an expressive face she's got.
Who starts this conversation like that? I just sat down.
Yeah. Ma'am, we're in a fucking Taco Bell. Calm down.
But yeah, you're absolutely correct. It's unfortunate that you are. As a DM, so I hated how that combat played out. Thoughts? Yeah. Sure. That's a way that you could do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this video is a little weird. Yes.
Yes, it is.
Let's see how it goes. This is what you get for clickbait. You didn't prep me for this. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I also want to reward my players after combat, but I got the feeling that my players didn't love the reward I gave them. But they said that they did like it, so now I'm not sure. The last thing is, I wanted this encounter to feel like a scene from a Western, and I wonder if I achieved that. Then once you have this, translate this meditation into concrete questions. Make sure your questions ask for specific feedback that you're interested in. Make sure you don't ask leading questions, and make sure your questions end with question marks. So here are a few examples from the example I just read.
I get it. I
Did
get
you like
why,
or
but-
dislike the length of combat? Did you like or dislike the rewards? I wanted this encounter to feel like a scene from a Western.
These are leading questions, you realize, right? Like, these are
Yeah,
all
yeah, these
leading
are all
questions.
Yeah.
Like, that's the point of them?
Yeah,
And there's
that's
nothing wrong with
That's
them?
what a question is.
Well, no, because the general broad things are not leading because you want them to not lead to it, right? Like, that's a question. But the leading questions are what you want to ask so that they will think about it.
Yeah, but I think
But
Oh,
no,
yeah, yeah.
leading questions are to be avoided.
So I'm assuming what he means specifically about leading questions is utilizing language that makes them feel a certain way about something. Did you
Yeah.
think that this
Yes.
combat was bad? Right? Like that would be
Yeah.
a question that you wouldn't necessarily want to do because that is leading
because
them.
you've put the kind of put the
Yes.
the thought in their head.
Make sure to ask that while you're like pressing your index fingers together
Yes.
and like looking down at the table.
Yes.
Say it kind of quietly.
Right.
Yeah, and like you got to make sure to like wiggle back and forth in your chair.
Do what I did before when I was
Yes.
saying about things being fine and about to cry.
Yes.
do that.
Have tears streaming down your face.
That's the way.
Roll your chair next to the edge of a cliff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's many options here.
We
Um,
all have a cliff in our house.
Yes.
And we must have houses. in
We
order to
must,
DM.
because we're DMs.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now that I said it out loud, he must have voiced workplace instructional videos. I hear it. Oh yeah, this video sounds like a training video for a job. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I watched some training videos a few weeks ago because we had the company retraining.
Yep.
And he's striking a lot of like
I
those same neurons.
I literally have listened to the new hire orientation many a time because I work in that department, so I hear it every single time, and this is the same exact tone of voice and everything. Yes. Like, and it's good for getting information clear. I get that, but it's
Not
so
for a real human being.
boring. And it's distracting. I'm not at work. Let me go.
I've been off for the last few hours.
Exactly.
Why am I here again?
Did you feel that? Once you ask those questions, let players say whatever it is they want. Even if they answer the specific question you asked them and then go off topic, write down their thoughts. They are valuable. The questions you asked might...
Now that
God.
I'm just in the headspace of the training video, and I can't get out. Everything's
D&D
just
training.
funny. Everything's just so funny now because make sure to take notes. They're helpful.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you're right. You're absolutely correct. All of this is correct, but man, I can't not hear it. Oh, God. You've ruined this now.
cause players to start thinking about certain aspects of the game, and they can come up with feedback answering questions you never asked. You want to make sure you capture this because this feedback too is valuable. One last thing is when you ask for feedback, and specifically when you communicate your intention about an encounter, don't pull back the screen too much. There's a balance to strike between asking for feedback and giving players a small peek behind the screen, and removing the screen altogether such that players can't maintain their willing suspension of disbelief. In other words, the risk is that if you reveal too much about your intentions, players will start seeing how you construct the sessions, and then it will start feeling less like a world and more like stuff you made up. Which is true. It is stuff you made up, but players want to believe this is a real world where the players are real people.
We've talked about it many a time, but you can partition your brain. You can absolutely.
It's actually not that hard.
It's like legitimately not that difficult to just go, this is my meta knowledge, it is over here, I am going to work with my in-character brain.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that bad.
It's really not.
Tracker crack. I'm not sorry. Good, you shouldn't be, because I'm over here really stifling back the laughter just because I keep hearing it. I keep hearing this voice in a video for like training me on something that I already know, and I can't deal with this. I'm gonna start crying. The Krusty Krab training video, but less fun.
Yeah, the Krusty Krab training video was fucking
It
goated.
was great. what would you say is your biggest weakness? I
work too hard.
I just work so gosh darn hard. Exactly.
God damn it.
Oh, fuck. Okay. It's unfortunate. I'm not gonna take like much of this seriously now. Fuck.
And the thing is, it's only going to get worse. It's just going to be the same tone of voice
I
for the whole rest of
know.
the video.
And
So,
he
like,
got
you're
me
done.
in here
You're
with
donezo.
he got me in here with clickbait too, and now it's a workplace training video, and now I'm just like, man, no one needs this.
Is the willing suspension of disbelief. All you need
Is
to
this what every like professional quote unquote DM who's on Roll20 goes through? Because it seems to be part of the curriculum.
Oh, God. Can you imagine?
It'd be so funny.
That would be really funny,
I would
actually.
love to actually sit through that curriculum and just laugh. Oh.
Yeah.
do is maintain it. Now on to my third tip on giving and taking feedback. This one is really important, and I see a lot of people get this one wrong. User error is design error. Let me explain. New designers sometimes dismiss some feedback as user error. For example,
new title card comes across the screen. Section 3.
Christ, dude.
I literally have constructed PowerPoints that are like I can't not see it. I fucking hate PowerPoint.
Yeah, god damn it.
Oh god. Oh, though I will say I did construct a pretty neat PowerPoint at work the other day that was nice because it was all stuff that we put together and made the transitions neat, and I actually really liked one transition that went from the environmental policy to the quality policy, and it did a ripple effect, and it actually looked really nice because I also chose a really nice picture to be the background. I felt very good about that one thing. Anyway.
the rest of the presentation was garbage.
Right, yeah, it's fucking horse shit, but like that one thing, super
Dude, I was talking
good.
about my ass the whole time.
Super good. Oh god. Welcome to DM training, the DM training course, the up and coming career for the young go-getters. Oh, I'm crying.
they had an issue because they did it wrong. They answer these problems which players describe with, well, why didn't you just do X? But it's important to understand that user errors are design errors. I'm going to read off my screen here for a second because I think this is important. Players doing or thinking stuff that's obviously wrong is very often a symptom of a problem with how you run, design, or communicate your game. When this happens, your job is to diagnose what made the player feel the way they did, and why the players made the choices they did. Once you diagnose the core issue, you fix it. Players will often propose solutions.
Use the gotcha method.
Oh god. God damn it. I can't. Like, I literally just can't for this. Jesus Christ. Yep. We're only halfway through. I can't. Okay. Oh, Alejo, did you not argue about the feedback on your PowerPoint? We only got good feedback.
Yeah.
Everybody liked it.
Everybody said it was fine. It's fine.
No. No. See, this is the thing. My boss and the people in my department actually give a shit, so we actually, like, say what we mean. It's great.
Oh my god,
yeah.
Crazy.
There's only three of us at a time, so yeah. We're a small department, so
yeah.
We're actually pretty honest. But yeah, most of the people who look at what we do are like, "Oh, that looks good." And I go, "Yes, because we made it that way."
Mm-hmm. We made it to look good. You buffoon.
Yeah, no, legitimately, we wouldn't have put it up if we didn't think it looked good.
When making it, I decided, will I make something that is bad or instead something that is good? You buffoon.
Anyway, Okay, here was a mistake. He should have put a PowerPoint slide here. Yes, true.
Yeah. What a shame.
now, Alejo, listen to teacher or sit in the corner. I can't. You don't understand. Oh.
They experience because they want to be creative and helpful. I always write down what players feel, but I almost never
It's
take
useful.
their suggestions. Like I said, the user errors
Sorry, wait a minute. Sorry, what did you just fucking say? Oh.
often propose solutions to the symptoms they experience because they want to be creative and helpful. I always write down what players feel, but I almost never take their suggestions. Like I said, the user errors that players experience are very often symptoms of a larger problem. As the GM or
Okay, wait. So first off, no. So taking their actual suggestions as to how to fix it might be good to have in the sense that it will help you in creating either the similar kind of suggestions in the future or building off of them and creating your own version of those suggestions, right?
Mhm.
No, like it is true that there are sometimes bad suggestions, but you can workshop just about anything. Just about. So unless you don't want to try to, which, that's your prerogative, but there is value in creatively constructing things from what your players have suggested that you do to fix their issues with your game. So I don't know. Players don't know what they really want. That's true.
Yeah. Just look at Helldivers. By the way, Aiden, I saw you were playing Helldivers. My condolences, my guy. Like a few days ago.
No, I had a fun time.
That's good.
I was fighting against the new Chargers. They're called Impalers.
There's Behemoth Chargers. That's what you're thinking of. But there's also Impalers.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, but you remember how when we would go into missions where we need to evac people and there'd be like the spiky bladed chargers? Those are Behemoth Chargers.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that they had a name.
Yep, they're new and they're tougher. That's about it.
Yeah. I, as a grenade launcher user, remain eating good. And I look at everyone else who's having balance issues with the game, and I say skill issue.
Excuse me.
Oh, this weapon sucks, then don't use it.
Yeah, exactly. Excuse me. Fuck, this video is killing me. So, I'm interested now to know what the actual root cause is, I guess. Because apparently my game sucks at the end of the day. So, let's see.
Yeah, you're running the worst version of the game.
That's right.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
designer, you have a far greater ability to diagnose problems than anyone else. I have an example here that I can read off my notes.
Oh, good.
Imagine after a combat session.
By the way, you don't have to specify that you're reading from your computer or that you're reading off your notes. That's just some feedback.
We can tell.
And also, like, it just doesn't matter. So just read whatever from whatever. It doesn't, like, nobody cares that you're looking off screen to read something. I promise. Just some feedback for you.
Thanks, he'll write it down and then not use it.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, he won't write it down because I didn't tell him how I felt, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Too hard. Enemies hit every time, and they were hard to deal with. Then they suggest that maybe you reduce the damage that enemies do. But you know that combat was only hard because players chose to not use the grapple move. And if they used the grapple move, they could equalize the playing field. And enemies hit every time, and the outcome was predictable because the math of how the enemies hit you didn't have enough randomness. So some potential fixes you might come up with that are different from the player suggestions are maybe to better communicate the existence of the grapple move.
What if they gave you that as your suggestion? What if they actually said that exact thing? You know, what if they actually say any of your... Like, it doesn't matter what your suggestion is. What if they say it? Is that not... Is it not valid? because that's immediately the same thing as like any criticism for anything. If somebody else says it and they aren't you, is it not valid?
I sure hope that's not the case.
Right? Like, it doesn't, like, yes, I'm the designer of the encounters and everything. I know how it works, but if somebody else who's an outsider can see an obvious glaring flaw and correct it very easily when they had no process in the design of it, then that is valuable. It's the same thing as... Sorry, go on.
I'll be right back.
Okay. That's the same thing as literally any criticism that any, like, movie criticism is a whole thing for that reason by people that have never touched one of these movies or anything. They can see a glaring flaw in any story, in any creative medium whatsoever. They can see a flaw and they can fix it in their head.
Yeah.
So, come on. What do you mean?
Well, I don't know about fixing it in their head, because they can certainly detect it, but fixing it can be somewhat difficult.
Well, I mean, I just mean come up with any kind of solution. Because
Yeah.
Because that is something that is also a part of it. They can't actively fix it. Yeah.
Yes.
Bangs on desk. Boo, Aiden, Alejo, pay attention. This will be on the test. No,
I won't.
Remember that we should be using our I statements. Oh, fuck me, forever. That was the most elitist answer I have ever heard to feedback. It's also not true. Designers, not true. Designers don't always have the best solution. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why player feedback is important. Like, yes, you're right. It is incredibly elitist. It's the I am the writer. Why would you be criticizing me when you haven't written anything?
Mm-hmm.
It's that fucking argument that I hate. I actually absolutely hate, because it is so elitist and gatekeeping.
Yes.
It is just, doesn't matter who the fuck they are. If they have valid criticism, it matters.
Yes. Unless it's me, in which case I am,
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And when it's useful, and to reduce the enemy to hit bonus or increase the dice randomness for their attacks. The fact that as the GM or designer you are much better equipped with diagnosing the problems players face is another reason to not argue with players. When you get feedback you disagree with, just listen, write down notes on what the players did, and specifically how the players feel, and ask clarifying questions. Now the fourth tip, and the reason
It just feels so condescending now. Now that we have that context of, oh my god, no. Come on. You've ruined everything. You've actually ruined everything. You've made it so that I can now no longer see this as a training video. You've ruined it.
Well, okay, it's a training video, but they just don't like their employees.
Yeah, it's true.
put this almost last, I have 2 extra tips that I didn't tell you about.
Great, I don't care.
Because this one is actually on when to ignore certain feedback. Specifically, designing your game or session means that some people won't like it. Let me again read off my notes here. While we want to be intellectually humble and open to the possibility that our mechanics are suboptimal or counter-purposive, if you don't know what those words mean,
counter-purposive?
I think, pretty good video.
Counter to your purpose.
Yeah, it's just counter to your purpose. That's.
Wouldn't it be easier to just say counterintuitive?
Yeah, it would be. It would be less elitist. Absolutely.
Yeah. Counterpurposive
yeah,
is not a
counterproductive
word.
as well. Yeah, he's doing the thing now. He's utilizing the big words to sound smart. He's doing the thing.
Except he picked a word that doesn't exist.
No, it does. It does.
Well,
it does?
Counter-purposive exists, and it's 2 words.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that purposive was a word. I've been alive for 32 years. I've never heard that word before in my life.
I've never heard it either.
Me either.
I just had to look it up.
Yep, same.
Yeah.
Having, serving, or done with a purpose.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, you don't need to use the big fancy words, big fancy man. You don't need to also tell me that other people's suggestions are not as good as yours because you're the designer. You're losing me real hard, real fast. Come on.
explaining and breaking down what games are. What are mechanics? What are goals? What are fantasies? And in what ways mechanics can be bad. The link to that is going to be either here or here. I can honestly never remember. But while we want to be intellectually humble and open to the possibility that our mechanics are bad in those ways, we should also be aware that some people don't like mechanics due to personal preference. So when you gather
True.
negative feedback from a tester, keep in the back of your mind what kind of
From a tester or a player?
Yeah, he's kind of mixed both the game design and game mastering. Like he's using both interchangeably.
Like this really has a the corporate like acronyms for no purpose sort of theme
Yes.
to it. Like, make sure to use the listen method when
Exactly.
talking to your players.
Exactly.
Learn what your players have to say. Identify problems.
Ugh.
Stop doing the problems. Treat all players with respect.
There it is. Yeah. Come on.
Every player is an equal.
Yep.
And no bad advice.
There you go. Except he's also said that there is bad advice, and he's literally on the point of there being no bad advice. Oh shit.
I don't fucking know, dude.
It's. I loved it, by the way. It was great.
It's just acronyms that say
I know.
nothing.
I know. Again, it's all there just to sound smart about it. Really,
Oh.
It's great. It's really good. Butch Hartman said the same thing. Unless you made something, don't talk to me. It's so stupid. Yes, he's a prick. Doesn't like he can go fuck himself. That's stupid. Is this now a GDC talk? Apparently, yeah.
games does the tester usually enjoy? How often do they play games? Do they not like the mechanic because of a specific choice you made using a strong opinion that you have on how games should be? Or because of something that you made a decision on but could change? What makes a game or session yours is that you create it with an authorial voice. The
Oh
game
my
or session
God.
you create represent some strong opinions that you have on the medium. Creating something with a point of view carries the potential of alienating the
My strong opinions are that white dragons are bad, and you should go into the mountains and kill one.
Exactly.
My strong opinion is that a lich is evil. Probably you should suplex him.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe the 44 Rules guy should have watched this video first. Maybe he did. God, it's now becoming soul crushing, is what it is. That's great. Love it.
We've
Those who
reached the stage of our interruptions are just intermissions away from the video.
Exactly.
Into things that are more entertaining.
Exactly.
agree. People might not like what you create,
Oh.
and that's okay. Creative
Ah.
outcomes make people feel things, whether it is love,
Okay. Well,
Oh.
GDS.
GDC.
My opinion. Huh?
GDC.
No, up in the corner it says GDS.
Oh, it does. Oh, fuck me. Oh, God, get it. Okay, sorry. Yes. Go on.
My
Jesus.
opinion on the thing you've created is you said a whole lot of nothing.
Yep.
And that is okay.
My opinion is that you've said some elitist bullshit, and you should stop that rhetoric because it's going to make it so that people are in the same mindset as that. And it really doesn't help a creative field at all.
Yeah. I'm probably going to duck out here, by
That's
the way,
fine.
guys.
Yeah.
Have a good week.
You
Yep.
too. Oh my God. Fuck me. I statement. When you tell me you're reading from your notes, I feel like my soul is bleeding.
Yeah, that's That's one thing that does drive me crazy
Yeah.
about certain content creators
Yeah.
is when they do that, when they're like, "Oh, I'm going to do this thing." And then they do it.
Right,
And
exactly.
even though it's obvious, when they spell it out,
Yeah.
when it's something completely obvious, that drives me nuts.
Exactly. I'm fine with it when it's done for a more comedic sense, or when it's done, like,
Yeah.
naturally, or, you know, like, just any sort of example that is a human thing to do,
Yeah.
you know? Rather than them signposting it to me in the video where I expected them to, I don't know, utilize the thing that they were going to do or something, you know, it's
Yeah.
Oh god, he is an art's purpose is to make you feel guy. Oh, I know, yeah. We're at this point. Yeah. And it's literally, again, it's as soon as he got to the rhetoric, I'm using the big words, he got to the rhetoric of elitism. Then it's like, oh, I know how I would not like to talk to you about things. Ooh, I would not like to talk to you about things at all. Because it really gives me the, oh, but it really only matters how you feel. And if you didn't make it, then how would you know how to fix it? It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
We
no,
would not be
no.
having a great conversation if this was about a film, I can tell you that much, because I would say,
Yeah,
are you fucking
dear
kidding me? Like, I can see that there's a problem here. What are you talking about? But it doesn't matter that there's a problem.
Well, you didn't make it.
What did you feel like? What did it make you? What did it evoke? Oh, anger, because there's an issue. I can see a glaring
Yeah.
issue. Oh, no. What I mean...
Yeah. Yeah.
This video is making me feel, at least. True.
Or indifference, or hate. If you are discouraged by all negative feedback and make something that nobody hates, with no authorial voice, that represents no opinion on anything, nobody will love it either. Because there will be nothing there to love or hate.
Sure.
So I suppose the summary of the fourth...
That's not true. Wait, no, that's not true.
Yeah, no, that's not true.
That's
at
just
all.
not true.
Yeah.
If there is something there, somebody will love or hate it or feel neutral about it. Like, they will just have a feeling about it. That is
Yeah.
just, existence is feeling. Like, that's just how it is. Unless you are born in the case that you can't feel things. In which case, existence is existence. But, like, legitimately, it doesn't matter what it is. If I don't have my authorial voice in it or not, like, it will be there and it will exist. And if I feel nothing about it, then yeah, that's still a feeling about it, I guess. But it still doesn't mean that somebody will hate it, probably.
Yes.
That's just the thing.
That's just a given.
Yeah. I feel this video is bad. Also, not every D&D game needs a thrust forward an opinion, sir. Yeah, I don't think that that's necessary for everything at all. That's stupid.
It's not.
It's literally, like, you can classify everything that I say as an opinion, yes. That means that everything that I put is opinionated in some way. Yes, great. We can move on from there, because that means nothing at that point,
Yes.
right? It's the same thing as, like, the social construct argument. Oh, but it's a social construct, man. Oh, okay, yeah, everything is. Let's move on.
Yeah.
You're like, but we don't experience things the same way. Yeah, but we have, like a, you know, an understanding of things being similar enough that we can move on from there, because we can kind of get how things work generally. Let's move on and continue your argument. I'm sorry, was that your main point? Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, okay, then I guess we're done here.
Yeah, I
Bye.
guess we're done. Yeah, like, you didn't do any. Anyway.
You have accomplished nothing. Leave.
Anyway.
point is to make things with a strong opinion or a strong authorial voice, a point of view, and when you do that, some people won't like it, and that's okay. Now I've got 2 extra points that I didn't tell you about. The first one is pretty quick.
Goody.
The 5th point is about in-session feedback. So watch the player's body language, tone, and specific feedback that they give you throughout the session. That can be valuable in determining, well, the answer to the questions that you ask feedback for. And
So why even ask the questions, then, is my question to you. If you can just, like, if you're not going to go for any of their suggestions whatsoever, If you're just going to go by feelings entirely, then just go by the game. Don't ask them anything. You don't need to, because you've noticed everything, hopefully, during the game.
Hopefully.
If this is your method, because again, you are basing it off of not just what they're giving you at the end, you're basing it also off of the entire time, which, yes, that is something that you should do, but if we're doing it in a way that is literally just not listening to, like, their actual words about it, really, then it's like, okay, so what's the point?
Yeah.
I just... Woo! All games are political type of thinking. Yep. Exactly. Great.
Yeah.
And if something is really game-breaking in the session and you observe that, just adjust those game-breaking issues on the fly. And every time you do that, just quickly write down what the problem was and what the resolution was so you can come back to it later and fix it for good. The sixth and final point for this video is maybe a little more philosophical, but it's what the title of the video is about. And it's about the trade-offs of running a game. I will once again be a poor presenter and read off my notes here, because I really want to get this right. As GMs, most of us don't have the luxury of playtesting our sessions before we run them. Even pre-designed modules were never tested with your table, your group of players, their player characters, and your style of running the game. This means that every session you run is part of an iterative process. The process of taking feedback is iterative. Any encounter or piece of game design is improved on the next time you run it. This means that every time you run a game, you are running the worst version of that game at that time. You may feel the urge to wait before you run for specific people you care about because you want them to experience the best version of your game.
Okay, so don't think like this, please.
Yeah, don't. That's not a healthy way to think about that.
Really isn't. Just have fun with the game, please. That's all I ask, because yeah, there are gonna be points that drag or things you get wrong or whatever. Some parts are gonna be bad of some degree. Okay? Whether it's like a little thing that isn't actually that meaningful or it's a big thing potentially. Like something will go wrong and you will fix it. But it doesn't mean that you need to hold off on playing it with some people because you really... Like, I get that mentality. Part of me was like, ooh, I really want to do Vampire well. I want to do that well with my friends because I care about my friends. And I want them to have a good time, okay?
That's fucking gay, bro.
I know, right? And, and so... I've only run Vampire like twice, like 2 sessions specifically, basically, and like I don't
worry, I could tell.
I don't. Yeah, right. I don't have that much experience with it, but that isn't gonna stop me from running it because I want to experience it with them and learn from it and grow. But I'm not thinking, oh, this is the worst game, the worst version of my game. Because one, I'm not going to do this exact same story again. And if it's the worst version, if it's the worst version of it, then so be it. It's also the best version of it.
Because it's the only version of it.
Exactly.
No one's ever going to run this game again.
Right. I won't.
And I don't even mean that in a mean way.
No, I know. I won't do it specific. If somebody wants to take what I present and they want to do it themselves... absolutely fine. If they have a better time with it, they improve it a bunch, great. I don't care. That's not my life and my game, you know? I'm glad that they did something with it to make it their own or make it better. There's nothing, like, I want to improve my abilities. I can do that myself. If I watch your game and improve because of it, hey, great. Good, but I'm probably not going to because you're probably not going to record it like I have been with all of my shit.
Also, you're probably pretty cringe and I'm not going to watch it.
That's right. But it's just a horrible, horrible mentality to put And it's a horrible, horrible clickbaity thing to put until the end when he clearly is lying to you about not having these and not, like, he was saying, oh, I have 2 additional tips that I didn't tell you about. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So you could have. You just didn't.
Yeah.
So that you could put it in the end here for your clickbaity title thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Why? Oh, for the clickbaity title thing. Oh, cool.
Shit.
To put some mystery into it. It's like, no. Just tell me what you're going to talk about, man.
What the fuck? How did that happen? That doesn't make any sense. So I just played through the story, and I beat the story of MechWarrior 5. Good shit. And over the course of the story, you find like what's called an extinct mech, where they are not made anymore.
Oh, cool.
They just don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And I just found one for sale in another system.
Ooh. Well, I mean, it's not made
Yeah.
anymore, but they're selling it. That's fine, you know?
Yeah, either that or once we found it, we were like, hey, we found this. Have some blueprints, everybody. And
Could
now
do.
everybody's making it.
Could do.
That's hilarious.
Does this mean I'm supposed to have my favorite group in my playtest group? No, I swear to God, if that's his point or something, like he's going off of this like iterative, like it's not what he's trying to say. I fucking hope, because that would be
here's hoping.
stupid to say. He's just saying that every time you play a game, that you are improving upon yourself. But instead of
and I
just
mean, that's-
saying that, he's putting it in the worst way possible, saying that you are playing the worst version of your game at the current moment.
Yeah, that's not a good way to think about it
No.
at all. It's not a healthy way to think about that.
No.
You know what? I actually have something I can add to that.
Yeah.
And you're going to probably be blown away by this. I
Okay.
may have already said it, but I don't know.
Okay.
So we ran a D&D 3.5 campaign.
Yeah.
You might have forgotten. And I have also, another thing you might have forgotten is I'm writing Call of Cthulhu right now.
That's crazy. What?
Yeah, I never talk about it. Did you know that initially I was going to wait until the D&D campaign was over before I wrote a single word?
No, I did not.
Yeah, that was my original intention, because I'm like, I want to wait until this is done because I want to make sure I have all of my mental power focused on the Cthulhu stuff.
That's understandable.
I did not follow through with that.
Sure. No.
At all.
Mhm.
And I don't recommend that you do that, because that's dumb and it's cringe.
So I don't actually agree.
No, fuck you. I say it.
Oh, okay.
I say it is cringe.
Oh, okay.
I say it is dumb and cringe. And you can't argue because you are not my dad.
Ah, true. And also, I haven't written
Yes.
anything, so obviously. And I haven't
Exactly.
written that.
So you are
that
not
campaign.
allowed to criticize.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
basically what I'm saying is you don't let stuff like inexperience or worry about it being bad the first time you do something stop you from trying to do something for
Yes.
the first time.
Yes.
Unless it's something dangerous, obviously. Like, oh man, I want to jump off a cliff. Well, don't do
Right,
that.
yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. There are certain things.
Yeah. So don't let this kind of fear stop you from trying, because you never know. It might be something that you really gel with.
Yeah.
And that could be running D&D campaigns.
Right, exactly. Creative processes are something that is something that you can go into with no experience. No
Yes.
experience whatsoever. That is the way it works. So you shouldn't have any fear about a creative process. Something that actually requires skill is something where you need to be aware of your lack of that, in the sense of like surgery.
Yes.
Like
Yeah,
things,
you kind of want that. You kind of need that.
there are things in this world where if you have the experience and skill, you should, or if you need experience and skill for it, you should wait and get that experience and skill.
Yeah.
But creative endeavors are not necessarily that, because they are something that you can work on as you continue to do them.
Mm-hmm.
So don't feel like you can't do something creative.
Mm-hmm.
Please. It is just, it's another part of this elitist mentality that I just want to be broken, where people are like, I have no experience whatsoever in creating an artistic like thing. I shouldn't even try because I'm so bad. It's like,
no.
No. You get the experience and you improve as you try it, right?
Mhm.
Like I have said this before in the past, and I still maintain that I don't draw or anything because I'm bad at it, and that's just because I have done some drawing and stuff, and I don't necessarily like what I've done, and I don't want to take the time to get better at it because I have 16 other things to do. But also, it would be really cool, right? It would be really cool if I could take the time to do that kind of stuff because I find it very cool and interesting. And I would do it if I had better brain chemistry as well. Where my brain chemistry is like, hey, dude, guess what you remember doing like 3 years ago, that one time that was pretty bad? And then I go, yeah, I do remember that. Oh, yeah.
I wish I didn't.
Wish
Thanks a lot, brain.
But I'm working through that process. I'm working through getting over that kind of stuff. I have for a lot of things. But drawing is not one of those things that I really cared to do so. It's not my focus. I definitely don't have that as my focus, at least at the moment. Anyway. What's this guy talking about? I'm really dropping the ball today. Oh, it's just elitist bullshit. Don't listen to him. He's fine.
Yeah, it's not very good.
He knows about Garibay's hidden skills and not telling us about it. True. Very well said, Alejo. Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things. Again, I have literally experienced this with people saying, "Why are you criticizing these things? Are you a best-selling author?"
Shut the fuck up, Your Honor. You wasn't even there.
Like
it's that.
But like legitimately, I've had that said to me, and at the time I was flustered, so I didn't say anything. But it is one of those things that I just immediately go, it's a creative endeavor. Anyone on the street could fucking criticize anything that is a creative thing. Stop it. I don't need to have sold a book in order to criticize a writing thing.
One of my favorite quotes is I don't need to be a 5-star Michelin chef to tell you that burnt toast is going to taste bad.
Exactly.
And you want to know who said that? Me.
Like,
actually, that's the one that I came up with.
There you go. Yeah.
It's fucking dumb. But
no, it's true.
It's accurate.
Yeah. Like, I can't tell you the minutia about tastes of things and such, because I might taste things a little different. That actually is true, than somebody else. But, like, I can still tell you, as you said, when burnt toast is going to taste bad, because I've definitely had my share of burnt toast.
Really?
Yes, I've burnt toast many a time.
Why'd you still eat it if you burned it?
Because I didn't have anything else at the time, and I was stubborn.
You poor bitch.
Yeah, that's right.
And by poor, I mean having no money.
Yes, that's right.
You poor bitch. Okay, just making sure.
It could have worked as the double entendre. You could have made it like a thing,
but I chose not.
You chose to make it less interesting.
Yup.
Yeah, if you try to make humans and mess it up, you can always reset them and try again. True.
Yes. Yep.
The worst. At least a better version after a few iterations. My advice here is to just go for it. Our time is limited and the future is uncertain. If the planets have aligned, such that you have a willing group of friends and a runnable game, do it. Do it. As long as everybody is aligned on what you're running, which is the session you created 2 hours ago while eating cookies on the couch, and why everyone is here for you to run it, so everybody can have fun, then everything is okay. You may also feel
Alright, at least, I will give him this, at least he did say to just do it, like, don't think about it that way. That's good.
Conscious about your worst being bad. You may look at the stuff you worked on and think, this sucks. I can't believe my players enjoy this. As a creative person, you may find that you have a self-critiquing inner voice that is solely focused on the parts of your creations that suck. You also develop this voice, this taste, far before you develop skill, so you suck far before there's anything you can do about it. But importantly, it's this self-critical voice which makes you so painfully aware of which parts of your creations suck that drives you to be better. When he does that,
That's crazy. Whoa.
listen. But when this voice tells you you need to stop creating because you suck, just don't listen. Be humble.
I got time. I got less time than I do before, so I have to listen to it every now and then, actually. But
Yeah.
like I get the sentiment. So
You know what I'm getting from it now? I'm getting like a preacher reading from a Bible. It's that kind of cadence.
yeah, for sure.
It's really weird and kind of off-putting. I'm not gonna lie.
That's been this whole video, man.
Oh, I know, but like only just now I have gotten that tone.
I get you. Yeah.
Be willing to suck. Accept feedback from others. And be your own worst critic. That's just what being a GM is. That's just being an artist. If you made it this far into the video, I'm telling you now that this is it for the video. But before you leave, if you could please leave a like, smash your head into the screen, smash the like button an odd number of times. Let's do 15. Also, if you're not already subscribed, please press the subscribe button an odd number of times and make sure to hit the bell. And
an odd number of times.
I can't tell you how much this stuff helps me.
So
because
annoying.
I honestly don't know. I don't think anybody does, but I hear it does help. So thanks again for watching the video.
No, so many people do. What the fuck are you talking? No, you know what? I mean, just no, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was so corporate, and it made me want to die.
Yeah.
So it was so corporate.
Yeah.
Didn't like that at all.
Doesn't feel good.
So this is the thing when he said, "Oh, you got to put your authoritative voice and personality in there, otherwise, people are gonna not think about it at all and not love it or hate it." No. That's what you did. You did that, and I hate it. It sounded so corporate that it sounded like you were a robot, and I hated it. Absolutely despised it. Thank you. Just don't listen. Yeah, that works. Exactly, right? Yeah. Just don't listen to your inner voice that's telling you that everything's bad and that you shouldn't do this ever again. Just don't do that. Just don't.
Just don't.
Fucking
it's not like the
stupid.
inner voice knows you better than anybody else, and it's really hard to ignore.
Exactly.
Because it's literally in your head.
Yeah. So, it's fine. Just don't.
By the way, I never found another Captain Martinez. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sad. That's okay. He's unique.
Yeah, right?
So that's it. We did it.
Yeah, we survived.
We survived. I thought that one was gonna be a little divisive, and it was. 7.5 minutes into it of a 15 goddamn minute video.
Yeah.
Hey, please let me throw up. Okay. So, that's it. I'm going to move on to comments, and of course, I'm going to extend the invitation for you to take your leave if you wish.
Yep. I think I probably will.
Alrighty.
Yeah. So, hey, good shit.
Yes.
At some point, we'll have to play a little bit of MechWarrior 5 again, because now that I've got all these assault mechs, it would be really fun to like shove you into assault mech and we just go into a mission. Because now that the story's done, we can just do missions and just have fun.
Yeah. We can do that at some point for sure.
Yeah. Because I have almost all the different assault mechs, and I got some fucking weird looking ones. It's great.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And I still have the Phoenix Hawk, so don't worry.
Okay.
It's still there if you want to be a medium.
Fair enough.
Yep. All right. Well, take it easy. And like I said earlier, I will be able to play this Saturday.
Yeah, yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Good
no,
shit.
this week's Saturday.
Yeah. It's the one that is coming.
Today.
Yeah. Because today.
Oh, yes. Today is Sunday.
Or technically now it is Sunday, yes. But
yeah, my bad.
Cool.
Yep. All right. Anyway, see ya.
See ya. All right. Everybody, you're stuck with me now. So, we actually had a lot of comments. Brogan turned me onto a interesting little trick to get us out there a little bit more, and it was literally to just put words into the titles of videos before they get uploaded, and then change the titles later. And it seems to have worked. It seems like we got a few more people with eyes and stuff onto our stuff. I've seen a couple of people join the Discord. I had not a couple of, like one, which is cool. So I hope you continue to enjoy what we're doing. All you new people who have also subscribed and everything. Really appreciate it. Anyway, this is comment time, everybody. It's time to comment. So, first up, we have... Let me actually get this on my screen. We have Ren Suzugamori 1427, which I will now refer to as Ren, who said on last week's episode, if my friend's phone gets fixed, then maybe I'll give these advices more mind, since what's the point in world building for a game when there's no one to play with? So I don't know if you're being serious about that, with the what's the point, but I can give you several. One, it's a creative endeavor, so you can be flexing your creative muscle. Two, you can be world building for future games, if you wish. Three, you could do it just because it's fun. Four, let me think. World building when you have no one to play with. You could do it for yourself so that you could do solo RPGs, because solo RPGs do exist. Yeah, that's a few. Just to give you a few reasons, if you were being serious. But otherwise, it's for people out there, potentially. Anyway, also on that same video, we have Timothy saying, "Hello, bros. Still working on lore. The first video was good, and the second video was just a boring plastic company video. Have a nice day." Thank you. And then again, Ren on that same video says, at 3:53:03, speaking of save scumming, my first time playing Fire Emblem Engage was ruined thanks to Bond Ring Gacha. I found this video on how to cheese the system, and I did, until the end of the first half. If you know, you know, and I haven't picked up Engage since. Sorry to hear that, but I get you. Really need to get back to my world building. Fair enough, Shin, no worries. Then Ren again says, on 44 Rules, episode 187, fun fact for me, the first time I saw these 44 rules was a VTuber Pipkin Pippa from FaZe Connect, just narrating the thread. D&D tubers / RPG his horror story channels covered it literally days later, I assume, not says. If a VTuber can get ahead of the curve than them, they got competition. Oh, they always have. That's the thing. Being right on the money, right on the pulse, if you will, of the quote-unquote news is something that only some people really do for the D&D tube stuff. So, I don't know. Everybody talked about it when it was hot, and then we talked about it way the fuck after. So, it's one of those things. And then, also on that same one, okay, game designers, create a card game using a standard deck of playing cards where a common rule needs spades being worth more than what's on the card. Reply with the most likes wins. Never mind, we already have a game. It's bridge. True. And also, the one that we were talking about. What was it? What was it? What was the one that we figured? Was it bridge? I don't remember. Anyway. Yeah. I remember that whole thing. I could make the same comment for this VOD. True, you could. And then Timothy on the Vampire Bloody Stardom episode says, "Hello, bros. New lore. A guide and history of dragon breeding and hybrids in my world / across the 38 types of true dragons around the world. Around the world, dragons tend to reproduce slowly, but some have mating seasons, such as the Jade and Brown dragons. Once every 3 years for Brown, and once every 6 for Jade. Excuse me, goodness. Those two types only have 1 to 2 eggs per season, so numbers stay stable. Most other dragons, excuse me, I'm getting a lot of burps. Most other dragons are more random when it comes to finding mates, with some making a weekly goal if mates can be found. When dragons of different types mate, many things can happen, such as beautiful new scale patterns, mixing scales of the mother and father, as well as bits and traces of other types spread out in the bloodline, making a unique individual. The chance for a dragon to inherit the breath weapon of 2 or more types in its family tree is always a possibility, but it's rare. Some dragons, like Purple and Steel, care deeply about their kids staying with them until they fully grow up, and some, like the Diamond and Copper, only stay until the eggs hatch, then leave. Dragons being strong magical creatures, sometimes wild things can happen, such as newborns having more than one head, more than 4 legs, and more than 1 pair of wings, or no wings at all. Dragons also mate with other beings from time to time, such as humans and giants. This makes a half-dragon, depending on the mate, a half-dragon child. A half-dragon birth can kill the mother, unless the mother is a dragon itself. Humans have 20% chance of staying alive. Jesus. Fair enough, yeah. Others are higher or lower in this event. But giants, being highly magical themselves, have the best chance at 90%. The dragon type with the most eggs per birth is Diamond, with 6 at most. A legend once told of a 10-headed orange dragon, which would be the most on record. The patron deities, Tiamat and Bahamut and Io, choose a mate if an individual catches their eye, which is seen as a great honor for the dragon picked. Io chooses both males and females as mates. The deities almost never mate with each other, however. They will pick a mate from any group, not just their own. Full families of dragons can form, keeping every member close for many generations. Purple and silver dragons are most likely to do this. Romantic polyamory between more than 2 partners can also happen. Ruby and moonstone dragons are more likely to do this. I will most likely add more dragons and other stuff later, but this is what I got thus far. Have a nice day. Thank you. That's very cool. I like all of that. I like dragon lore. Good stuff. We've been trying to decide whether posting our D&D campaign as a comment would be a good idea for filling the space, though. We're still getting our legs with it, though. Fair enough. Do whatever you want. And then Shin, on last week's episode, says, one concept that fell into my lap just moments ago is the idea of positive propaganda. Take the ideal of knightly chivalry, for example. In fiction, you would normally see propaganda used to manipulate the lower classes and keep the ruling class in power. But chivalry and the surrounding legends of chivalrous knights were actually invented and idealized because violence by nobles against peasants who grew all the food had become a problem. Huh. So anyway, it's a good idea to throw some aspirational ideas into your societies. Helps mitigate the problems of humans being human, even if the reality of how people actually behave will fall short of that ideal. So that's something to try not to neglect in world building. And that's all I've got this time. Well, thank you, Shin. Appreciate it. I'm thinking of working on my orc lore next. Hell yeah. Do what you wish. Alright, in the future, what I'm going to do is just let all the comments build up without liking or hearting them, and then as we go through them, I'll like and heart them as we go. That way if you have edited, or if you need to edit it, it doesn't just take it away, and it's also easier for me to track comments and stuff, because they will be the ones that are right there, that have the filter of response status, I think. I haven't responded, which is nothing at the moment, so there you go. So that will be a change there. Thank you very much to all of you for coming by and hanging out, of course. Those of you in the future who do watch the VOD as well. Appreciate you all. Appreciate, as I said, the new people who have come by and decided to hang out for a while. I hope you continue to enjoy. That's really just kind of it. We're close to 700 subscribers at the moment, which is neat. We've been kind of teetering on the edge of like 680 for a while before, and now we're pretty close to 700, so that's just a neat little aspect to deal with. We're slowly closing in on that 1,000. very slowly, which is fine. Don't need to worry about that. Just interesting to see. Anyway, if you are out there and you wish to support us potentially financially, well, let me tell you, there is a way to. You can go over and become a table flipper over on Patreon, or you can go to Ko-fi. Both have the exact same benefits. In fact, tomorrow, I'm going to be doing another editing stream, which this time I won't be interrupted, so I'll be able to do it for longer. I'm nearly done with editing the first Vampire the Masquerade campaign session, so that will be out there for you on both of these as soon as that is done. So look out for that. You can see there's even a cat cam. You can watch my cats destroy my office while I'm editing. We'll see how it works. But yeah, so come by if you wish to. It's as little as $1. If you don't want to, hey, that's fine. Don't worry about it. This stuff is only for our table flippers, though. So it will be just for Patreon and Ko-fi exclusively. And the release of the Vampire campaign is going to be a monthly thing when it starts happening, because I want time to work on it in between. Plus, it gives me more time to work on other things. Plus, it just makes it so that we have a kind of like an actual steady backlog of them to go for if we do have like months of no Vampire the Masquerade ability to play it, because as we've had 2 weeks since that first session that we haven't been able to play. So trying to mitigate that as much as possible and kind of make it more of a drip feed of content. But it will be on both the YouTube channel and as well as a new audio only thing on Spotify and all of the other podcasty kind of places that it has access to. So look forward to that for actual audio only versions that you will be able to download when they're available. For you table flippers, you'll be able to get that sooner than anybody else. You'll be able to just download a direct file. So there you go. I'm doing things. I'm doing things for people now. Namely, thank you to our tier 4s, that being Draco Kraken, Rick, aka Unit Rico, and Steely for giving us those $15 every month. Appreciate that. It's a big amount, and you've been around for a long time. And hey, whoa, you can have access to more things. So hope you like it. I don't know. Thank you to Crimson Rose as well at tier 2. For all of those dollars that you keep giving us, as well as our tier 1 contributors. Again, you all get access to this for as little as $1 a month. So if you want to, and if you're able to, please don't feel obligated to give us money, but there are some benefits for if you do. As little as $1 a month gives us pennies, which is fine. It just gives you more content, I guess, really. And plus it lets us also buy things so that we can keep upgrading the our productions, because hopefully the music and stuff for this Vampire campaign will be a nice upgrade. I'm at least having a great time editing it. It's been really fun. Anyway, other ways that you can support us if you wish, going over to TeePublic and getting any of these lovely designs on whatever you want from there. It's good stuff. And of course, going over to our website, to the Support Us page, seeing all the things that I have talked about and will talk about, as well as our custom dice that you can get through a PayPal payment. Please do, if you wish. And of course, there's a link in our description that you can use to go over to Humble Bundle, and anything you buy through Humble Bundle's site using that link will support both us as well as Tabletop Alliance, who is also linked in the description, so that you can find out about their charity work that they do with tabletop things. At this moment in time, I would highly recommend the Beamdog and Owlcat RPG Masters bundle, which is 40 or 35 bucks for Rogue Trader, Wrath of the Righteous, like Baldur's Gate 2, Pathfinder Kingmaker, Torment, like all of these things that I own, almost all of them individually. I think I don't own like 2 of these. I think I don't own these 2 specifically. And I guess if you want to count the season pass things, I don't own those as well. But everything else I do own. So unfortunately, I don't think I will buy this bundle. But you should, if you have any interest in any of these CRPGs. It doesn't include Baldur's Gate 3, but all of these are still very good. And of course, there is also the books bundle for Starfinder for the new edition. It's got the playtest primers for 2nd edition, as well as all the stuff from 1st edition that you can utilize and do into 2nd edition, so please do that. There's also, it looks like Star Trek Adventures RPG. Oh my god, wait a minute. I think I need this because I do have the Star Trek RPG core rulebook, and it would be nice to have all, that's great, to have all this. Holy shit. Okay, wait a minute. 25 bucks for all of this. You sign me up. I'm gonna buy this in a little bit. So go and get that if you wish. Anyway, I guess we'd have to label it as half a campaign and half fanfic, officially speaking. Topal's playing kind of gets kind of different. Fair enough. Sharing a brain does have some big advantages for friendship, but also means nothing can really surprise you. Also true. Okay. Anyway, Humble Bundle. Go there. Good site. Buy things through it, through our link. Supports us and Tabletop Alliance. If you wish to, I can't tell you what to do. As we've established many a time in this episode, I'm not your dad. Anyway, thank you again for coming and hanging out. Appreciate you all very much. No, I am not your father, Draco Kraken. I see you there. Yeah. And, no, Timothy, no. And, we'll see you next week for more of this. Tune into other streams. Tomorrow, tune into the stream if you're a table flipper. You'll get the link in the Patreon and the Ko-fi to follow, so look out for those. I will post them in our Discord as well. I'm probably going to do it at some point when I wake up and do it for quite a bit and try to go and get files from my other computer and work on them for the Delta Green stuff that I still need to completely finish and get out first before the vampire stuff is out. I'm going to get the vampire stuff ready, but I'm going to get the Delta Green stuff out before I even start putting vampire up. And you guys will be able to see it and listen to it, and some of you are in it, so excitement abounds for listening to yourselves. I know it's weird for me sometimes, but I've kind of gotten used to it, and I know people go, is that what I sound like on video? When, that doesn't sound like me. It's a whole thing, and it's always interesting to me. Anyway, that's enough rambling and yambling from me. We'll see you next week, everybody. Hey, I might have actually recovered my character after I started the new computer up. Way, nice. There you go. Excuse me. All right, I gotta go before I throw out my voice, destroy my voice. Who knows? Goodbye, everybody. Have a good evening, day, or afternoon, whatever it may be. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.